what's going on, guys? Figured since there's no way to watch the game, I'd make it a little easier for you guys to hear the radio broadcast. Kind of weird. Opening day of spring training and they don't have a TV broadcast, but it is what it is. Let's see if they started yet.
Meadows, Rosarena, and Lau, followed by Brasso, Diaz, and Tsugo. The bottom third of Adames, Margot, and Smith. On the mound for the Rays is Chris Ellis. He'll be 28 years old this season. Journeyman pitcher, 1 point, a third-round pick of the Angels. We'll talk about him and much more as we get set for baseball under just bright blue skies and perfect sunshine bathing this gorgeous field. We're ready for baseball, and fans are here. And so, too, glad to introduce and proud to introduce my friend and broadcast partner, Dave Wills.
Great to be back, Andy. Thank you very much. And the first pitch of this
2021
League is underway, and it's just outside for ball one. Duender Inciarte, fine defensive outfielder.
I gotta find the
next pitch, the 1-0, and that one clips.
I gotta find that thing with the
is level of the ball and a strike.
Batter's box and stuff on it.
Their 2020 American League Championship. That banner is up above the offices down the right field line as Ellis ready to go on the pitch. Swung on and missed. Good off speed right there. And the count 1 ball, 2 strikes. Inciarte, Swanson, and then Riley. Inciarte is going to be pushed for a spot in the starting 9 as they've got a fine young outfielder that's really kind of pushing him as there's a check swing on a ball that missed inside. And the count leveling up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Braves are coming off a National League East title, their 3rd straight. You do your homework on the Braves and you find out this is a really, really good baseball team as well. As there's a pitch that just missed outside, said home plate umpire Jeff Nelson, and the count goes full of 3-2. They've won 3 straight National League East titles. They're kind of right now on the outside looking in.
I don't know where to find that thing
for the National League East this year. As this pitch is fouled off and out of play to the left side, but when you start to take a look at their everyday lineup, led by Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna Jr., this lineup doesn't really bow to anybody. It's a really, really good offensive lineup, one of the best in the game. The 3-2 pitch is swung and lifted foul again out of play, and the count stays full of Inciarte. Chris Ellis, in a number of minor league seasons, 45-40 with a 480 earned run average, 164 games, 106 of them in which he started. He's had 1 appearance in the big leagues. That was with the Kansas City Royals on opening day a couple of years ago, and then he was sent back to the Cardinals. 3-2 pitch fouled straight back at us, and we will continue here as he was a Rule 5 pickup by the Royals from the Cardinals, made it through spring training, made it to opening day, pitched in the opener against the White Sox, a game in which the Royals lost, and then they said, yeah, we don't need you anymore. They sent him back to the Cardinals. 3-2 pitch, and there is a ball inside, ball 4. And so Inciarte, after a lengthy at-bat, works a walk, and that's the way our 2021 spring season gets underway.
I don't think that the Braves are getting nearly enough respect. To me, in my mind, they're still the favorites to win the National League East. And I'll tell you what, Dave, as much as losing the World Series stunk the Rays, it had to have been worse for the Braves and their fans having a 3-1 lead on the Dodgers and seeing it all get away. We were that close to having a Rays-Braves World Series.
Here's Dansby Swanson on the first pitch to him. A fastball runs high and tight for ball 1. And there was a base running miscue in that game 5. They battled them right to the end in game number 7. The bullpen, I mean, when you really look at some of the trials and tribulations that the Atlanta Braves had in 2020, it's a wonder they were able to get to a 7th game of the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. Their starting rotation was decimated as here's the runner going. The pitch is called a strike. The throw is a 2-hopper to second base, and it's not in time. And Inciarte, who did have 4 stolen bases back in 2020, picks up his first of the spring here in 21. Now, their starting rotation last year was supposed to have been Mike Soroka, Max Fried, Kyle Wright, who's starting today, Sean Newcomb, and then Mike Foltynewicz, along with they were waiting for Cole Hamels to get healthy. Well, Hamels never really got healthy until late in the year. He made 1 start for him in September. So here's the 1-1 pitch, runs up and in, and the count 2 balls, 1 strike. Soroka was lights out against the Rays, and then a couple of starts later blew out his Achilles, missed the rest of the season. Max Fried missed 11 games because of a couple of injuries. Kyle Wright and Sean Newcomb were both optioned to the alternate site at one time or another during the regular season. And Brian Snitker and company, well, they did a wonderful job holding it all together. The 2-1 pitch is fouled, and the countdown goes level to 2 balls and 2 strikes. But a lot of it was because of their offense. Their offense was among the best, not only in the National League, but they were kind of an American League offense in National League clothing, given the fact, too, that you were able to use the DH last year, which paid off wonderfully for Marcell Ozuna, who did finally come back to the Braves after kind of looking to see if there was anything out there free agent-wise, but then signed a 4-year deal with the Braves toward the end of the offseason. Here's a fastball that runs inside again, and for the second straight batter, the Rays starter Chris Ellis has gone full 3-2. They had, 3 different players that win the Silver Slugger Award, which goes to the best offensive player at those positions. Freddie Freeman won the MVP. Acuna, I was watching the MLB Network special on the Braves. There's some folks who think he's going to be a 50-50 guy. That's kind of grandiose, but he's got a talent. There's the 3-2 pitch, and that's low and away. And so back-to-back walks to start the ball game by Chris Ellis. And that's something that, with the bevy of arms that the Rays have here in spring training camp, and the fact that they're looking to replace guys like Morton and Snell, among others, the one thing that Kevin Cash has really harped upon, and I know it's been this way since he's become manager, and for that matter, since the Rays became the Rays, it's about their pitchers throwing strikes. Having confidence in your defense, throwing strikes, and going from there. And so here's Austin Riley, right-handed hitter. The first pitch he swings at and fouls back for strike 1. No score, we're just underway. Top of the first inning here in beautiful Port Charlotte. Wind blowing out just a little bit. Actually, well, depending on what flag you look at. There's a huge flag out in left center field that I think is part of the Harley-Davidson dealership. That's kind of just rippling in the wind, but the ones that are down the left field line, they are starched. And that's what you usually get here in spring training. Here's a slicer down the right field line, but that'll go foul. And the first test for the fans, and so far they passed it. They are staying in their square. They did not spare their square. They're staying in their square and not chasing after the foul balls.
Hey, you get box seats. You want to stay in those seats.
I don't know if they're parallelogram seats or rhombus seats or what have you, but I'm not sure they're total right angles, but they did a real good job. The 0-2 pitch. There's a breaking ball, strike 3 call. They got Riley looking, and that's the first out of the ball game as Chris Ellis records his first strikeout.
Well, there's no question our world has changed since we were last in this ballpark March 12th last year. In fact, the Rays played the last game of that initial spring training against the Phillies here, March 12th, 2020. Dave and I, we had done a night broadcast the day before when everything with COVID really started to bust loose, and then there was no baseball again after March 12th. So it's been almost a full year since we've been here, and it's just good to see fans in the ballpark.
Here's Pablo Sandoval, and the first pitch to him is taken a little bit low for ball 1. Sandoval, everybody seems to know him as a San Francisco Giant, but trying to hold on to a spot here with the Braves, probably more so as a pinch hitter. Not an everyday player probably anymore. The pitch is swung on and missed, and there's a breaking ball. Switch hitter, so, the one thing that the Braves now, and all National League teams, which is absolutely ridiculous, that here we are starting spring training games, and they're still not 100% certain if the National League is going to have a designated hitter or not. It's mind-boggling. Incredible. 2 on, 1 out. The pitch, and Sandoval pops one up into the blue skies. It's going to float out of play. But let's get back and talk a little bit about the situation here, where the seating limited to about 1,100 fans in pods of 4 or 2, depending on what you bought. And, kudos again. Dan Moeller has taken over operations here at the ballpark in Port Charlotte. He's our groundskeeper back during the regular season at Tropicana Field. But Dan and Jim Privatera and Ken Mallory, and I'm going to mention a bunch of names, and I'm going to forget a bunch of them. But these people had to do yeoman's work over the last couple of weeks, if not less than that. As there's a swing and a pop-up on the infield. Mike Brasso racing in fair territory, hits the brakes and makes the catch along the line for out number 2, and the runners stay at first and second. But they had to go through the ballpark and figure out all the social distancing and mark off the seats that they can use and that they can't use, and set up the areas around the ballpark. There are tents to handle the expanded players and keep them under cover. They're, again, unfortunately, one of the best spots of this park is the boardwalk, and it cannot be utilized by the fans because of the COVID situation. So they're making do. It's good to see fans here at the ballpark, but again, kudos to everybody who worked behind the scenes to get this ballpark ready for the fans here on this 28th of February. So there's a first pitch foul back by Jason Kipnis, and it's strike one. No score, top of the first inning. The Braves with their first two men reaching on walks. They're still on base. Enciarte at second base. Swanson at first. Kipnis last year with the Cub hit .237 with 3 homers, 16 knocked in. Longtime Indian. Infield back shifted to the right side. The pitch is swung on and missed. And the count quickly 0-2.
And every ticket has been sold, about 1,100 per game for 14 games, and they sold out for the reigning AL champs. We are told within 5 minutes, all of those tickets were sold out. So people clamoring to see their Rays. I'd say that's a high demand and low supply.
Here's the 0-2. Swung on and missed. Strike three. And Kipnis goes down swinging. And so after kind of a shaky beginning in which Ellis walked the first two batters, he gets Sandoval, Kipnis, and Riley to take care of the Braves and keep them off the board here in the first inning. So we're done with half an inning here in Port Charlotte. It's Atlanta 0, and the Rays are coming up after this on the Rays Baseball Network.
After everything you've been through lately, time apart's a good thing. Maybe your home needs a vacation from you too. And you can clear your mind with Florida's most fresh air adventures in Tampa Bay. Dive into sunny water sports, traipse down the trails in lush state parks, or explore the Tampa River Walk's miles of waterfront views and outdoor dining. There's even world-class thrill rides and more at attractions with limited capacity. See how getting away can actually bring you closer at visitTampaBay.com.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Swinging a long drive, deep to left field, all the way to the wall. It's gone! The Rays have taken a 2-1 lead.
Rays insiders know all the info, players' stats, stories about the team, and especially ticket details. Sign up for the Rays Insider email newsletter today and get weekly email blasts to keep you posted on all the latest Rays news, player features, ticket deals, and more. For more information, visit RaysBaseball.com/newsletter. Rays up!
We're talking Rays baseball every day on Beckles and Retcher, afternoons at 3 on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620, the home of the Rays.
Introducing the all-new Rays season membership. See your American League champion Rays. Get priority access to tickets and the flexibility to choose the games and seats you want in a way that best fits your schedule. Memberships start at just $500. For more information, visit RaysBaseball.com/season membership. Rays up. Here comes 25-year-old right-hander Kyle Wright vying for one of the final spots in the Atlanta Braves starting rotation. He is on the hill coming off a really good postseason, especially in the division series against the Miami Marlins. 6 shutout against them. And for the Rays, Meadows, Arozarena, and Lau. Rays hit for the first time.
First pitch on its way, and it's in there for strike one to Austin Meadows, who, just looking at him, I mean, you wouldn't even need to hear all the reports that we have and read all the reports that we have about him looking a little trimmer, and he does, as this pitch is swung on and lifted foul back out of play. And the count quickly 0-2 to Meadows, who last year, again, spring training started. Normal spring training. Then spring training 1.0 gets postponed by COVID. He catches COVID along with his wife. And it affected him a lot. And it knocked him on his backside for a bit. As here's the 0-2 pitch. High and outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And never really was able to recover totally from it, it seemed. And then battled an injury toward the end of the regular season. But did have some big hits for the Rays in the postseason. The 1-2 pitch, check swing, and he was the I'm trying to see, the best supporting actor maybe in Game 5. You've got Mike Brasso and his home run in the 8th inning, but Austin Meadows hit one that just barely cleared the wall and right that Aaron Judge kind of stuffed himself on. And that allowed the Rays to get on the board at a time when we weren't even sure we were going to get a hit. Here's a swing and a pop-up in the shallow center field. Backing up on it, Dansby Swanson, and he's there to make the catch for number 1 here in the first.
Yeah, I remember thinking, is it really worth having him on the postseason roster? How, he's had such a rough year, and there he was. The Rays may not get to the League Championship Series without Austin Meadows' big home run. And I remember Garrett Cole was flying along. I mean, that popped the balloon. He was working on a 1-0 game. That game might have ended 1-0 for all we know.
So here's Randy Arozarena. Is it his birthday today?
Number 26.
We're singing happy birthday to him as the first pitch to him is taken outside for ball 1. And what can he do for an encore? That's going to be the big question. He had that incredible postseason. Single-handedly helped carry the Rays almost into the World Series, which the 1-0 pitch, taken high on the outside edge, I guess, for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. And again, and I'm sure we'll talk about it throughout the spring a few times, and everybody wants to talk about the Kevin Cash move and taking Blake Snell out of the ball game. Here's the 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. But to me, the bigger mistake is how in the world did Dusty Baker continue to think that they should pitch to Randy Arozarena? And they kept on doing it, and he kept on paying for it, and ultimately it was why the Rays went to the World Series, and the Houston Astros did not. The 1-2 pitch. And that's outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's interesting, too, that Meadows and Arozarena come up 1-2 because Meadows had a hard time with it. Arozarena got stronger somehow during his COVID infection last year.
No score, bottom of the first inning. Infield back as the pitch on its way from right is swung on. This one's lined into center field for a base hit. So Arozarena picks up right where he left off with a rocket back through the middle. And the Rays have their first base runner here in March, or not even quite March of 2021, the Grapefruit League of 2021.
That's the nutty thing, is that Arozarena, of course, still has rookie status for this year. He did all he did last year. It was like pre-rookie. So he could win Rookie of the Year. I mean, he would have to be the favorite, I would think. And it's funny because you look at the prospect listings of the Rays, and you still see Wander, who we may see today, but you see how is Randy not the number 1 prospect in baseball after what he did in a postseason?
He leads at first. There's the pitch to Brandon Lowe, and he takes high for ball 1. Well, the Braves have a guy that they think could be a Rookie of the Year candidate, and Ian Anderson, their fine young pitcher. But Kyle Wright is here's a guy that made 8 starts last year, and he started his big league career 0-7. Here's a throw to first, to Arozarena back. But then went down to the alternate site in Gwinnett for them, kind of tuned a few things back up. And when he came back, he did pretty good. Went 2-0 with a 2.37 earned run average, and as Andy said, had a moment or two in the postseason as well. The pitch, and that is over the outside corner to Brandon, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. So 2-4 last year with a 5.21 earned run average was right. Probably could pencil him in toward the bottom of the rotation. Might battle out for a number 5 spot with maybe a Drew Smiley or one of the other guys that's battling for a spot in their rotation. A 1-1 pitch, and that one's taken low on its side. But might also get into the rotation at the beginning of the year simply because one of their lead guys, Mike Soroka, just might not be ready to go with his Achilles rehab. I mean, he's throwing off a mound, but hasn't really done a lot of the things you need to do in addition to throwing as a pitcher. And if you might have to run the bases as a hitter, got to be able to field your position. The 2-1 pitch, Arozarena bluffs going, and Brandon swings partially through that one on the count, leveling at 2 balls and 2 strikes. A lot of talk about Brandon, and I'm sure we'll talk about it throughout the spring, is to try, I don't know if you want to say level things off, but when he gets hot, don't get so cold.
It's easy to say.
It is easier said than done. But when he is hot, he is as good as any hitter in this game. The 2-2 pitch, swinging a foul back out of play to the left side. The count stays level at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Last year, Rays MVP during the regular season, 269 with 14 homers, 37 knocked in. And then, for all the things that he did not do during the postseason, especially in that series against the Astros, he came up with some real big home runs against the Dodgers, especially in that Game 4. That was the wacky finish. The 2-2 pitch. Look out. Almost hit him. Goes back to the screen, and on his way to second base on the wild pitch is Arozarena. Well, that's part of spring training, too, is think Brandon said that the other day when he was standing in on live pitching for the first time in a while. When he saw mid-90s, it was like, ooh, okay, that's good. I like seeing it. Because you got to learn how to get out of the way of those pitches again. Batting practice pitchers and machines, they're not throwing it at your hip. You got to learn how to get out of the way of those again.
Or lean into it while making it look like you're trying to get out of the way, as some guys can do.
So 3-2 the count to Brandon. 3 infielders shifted to the right side, with Rosarena taking the lead at second. Gal Wright comes set just above the belt. Right-hander checks on Rosarena at second, and now they want to go over the signs to make sure they're on the same page with a man at second base. So Alex Jackson, the catcher, goes out to have a chat.
Dave, you got to think how important it was for Brandon to have a couple of those moments in the World Series after, he really struggled, as we know, against the Yankees and the Astros in the postseason, to the point where even Kevin Cash was telling us that he could see frustration in Brandon, and everyone was doing everything they could. When a guy's in such a deep slump and such an important part of the team, do you talk to him more? Do you talk to him less? What do you do? And thankfully for him, for his psyche, he was able to have some big moments in the World Series.
3-2 pitch, and that's high, and it's boxed by the catcher. Jackson, and back to the screen it goes. And on another wild pitch, moving to third base is Rosarena, and the result of that wild pitch was ball 4, and so Brandon Lau is on his way to first. The Rays have runners at the corners with 1 out for Mike Grasso.
Tampa Bay Rays Spring Training brought to you by Visit Tampa Bay. Step out of your dreams and into the sun. Plan your next outdoor adventure at visitTampaBay.com.
So here is Mike Grasso. Last year hit .302 with 5 homers, a dozen runs batted in, and none of those homers were anywhere near the home run that he hit in game number 5 against Aroldis Chapman in that series against the Yankees. And, it's one of those goosebump moments from a 2020 season that, again, when you reflect on that season and you see the banners now out in the office building and right, as the first pitch to Brasso swung on and missed for strike 1. The shame of it is that a lot of those big moments would have been at Tropicana Field. You could only imagine what it would have sounded like on Brasso's homer at Tropicana Field for a Game 5. Can only imagine how that ending in Game 4 would have sounded with the fans at Tropicana Field of the World Series. The 0-1 pitch, breaking ball, that one sneaks in there for a strike, and the count quickly 0-2. But it's a new year, a lot of great memories from last year, and it's time to make some new ones. And the thought process, as it was last spring, was to improve upon the year before, even though the year before was pretty darn good. And that's still the thought process here in 2021. Now the 0-2 to Brasso. Breaking ball that buckled him. And Mike is out on strikes, and that's out number 2 here in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, you really think about it. The Dodgers won the World Series, but it's the Rays that you really think of with their moments during the postseason. And whether it be a Rosarena or Brasso or Game 4, even Margot trying to steal home was an incredible moment, even though it didn't work out for the Rays. Of course, the Dodgers, though, they earned it. I think you said it, Dave, on one of our calls. The Dodgers really are like a machine.
They were a machine, and they still are. And they tinkered a little bit, and it looks like they got stronger, but you still have to play the games. As the first pitch to Yandy is a breaking ball for strike 1, and the count 0-1 to Yandy Diaz. 307 last year, but only a couple of homers. And another guy that looks like he's trimmed up a little bit during the offseason. Rays are hoping that maybe he can be a little more bendy than he's been the last couple of years. Runners lead at the corners. No score here in the bottom of the first. The pitch grounded sharply back up toward the middle, but right there to his left goes the shortstop Dansby Swanson. Flips to second for the out. And just like the Braves, the Rays get a couple of men aboard but can't do anything with it. We're done with 1 in Port Charlotte. Still no score on the Rays Baseball Network.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts.
All those people, they keep watching me. All those people, they hate me. All those people, they watch me. All those people, yeah, just like me.
Outback.com.
Delicious real-life brightness in the morning. Packed with 100% of
Ideals are like opinions, beliefs just like tradition. Yeah, sometimes both are not enough. Faded stickers and crumpled flyers, yeah, they become the reminder that there's an anthem in us that fits the flag we've flown for years.
Access to exclusive experiences. Sign up at RaysBaseball.com/ALChamps. Rays up. New pitcher for the Rays, Hunter Strickland, takes over Chris Ellis, who walked the first two batters he faced and then struck out two of the next three. So Ellis done after one, and now Hunter Strickland comes on. Reminder, it's a 7-inning game today, and we'll see a lot of this through the 13th of March, and then after that, probably a little bit more of the 9-inning affairs. But there's going to be a lot of communication between what is being referred to as the Southwest Division of the Grapefruit League. The Rays, the Braves in Northport, the Red Sox in Fort Myers, Twins in Fort Myers, even Pirates in Bradenton. All that group will have communicated quite a bit with each other about the use of pitchers and that sort of thing. So we could see, and probably will see, one pitcher per inning today through the 7th inning. No score to the second.
Big, strong right-hander Hunter Strickland ready to go in the first pitch to the left-handed hitting Abraham Almonte is taken for a strike, 0-1. Strickland made a name for himself while he was with the San Francisco Giants, 14, 15, 16, 17, and into 18. Did some nice jobs for them out of the bullpen, and then traveled to Seattle for part of the 19-year and with Washington as well. This here's a spinner a little bit low in the count, evening up with a ball and a strike. Best year with the Giants might have come in 2015 when he appeared in 55 games, pitched to an earned run average in the 2s. Had a couple of run-ins with Bryce Harper, has been well documented. And he has put together pretty good. Three infielders shifting to the right side for Almonte. As Yandy Diaz, the lone man on the left side, the pitch, and that one breaks a little bit low for ball two. 2 balls, 1 strike. Alex Jackson waiting in the on-deck area. Strickland, 32 years old, was signed as a free agent by the Rays back in early February. Now, after a long pause, the 2-1. Here's a swing and a ground ball. To his left is the shortstop, Willie Adames, on the right of second base, and he scoops it up, throws to first in time for out number 1. So the out goes 6-3, even though where Willie scooped it up, it was where most second basemen would play in a traditional defensive alignment, and I'm not even sure. Can you even say that's traditional anymore? I mean,
I was just talking to another announcer about this week. It's like we have started to say more when they're not shifted compared to when they are shifted, because the Rays shift almost every batter now.
All right, well, Neil tried to make us make our first mistake of 2021. Everybody had Guillermo Heredia playing in left field. We thought we had Demerit in left, and he's in the on-deck area. As here's the pitch to Jackson, who appeared in a handful of games at the big league level last year for the Braves and takes a strike, 0-1 the count. You look at their catching situation for the Braves, and it's pretty good. Travis d'Arnaud, and the question's going to be, though, all right, it was pretty good for a 60-game schedule to keep them on the field, but what are they going to do for a 162-game season? As that pitch sneaks in for the strike and the count, 0-2. At this point, Tyler Flowers, I think, is still looking for a gig, which is a little bit surprising given the fact that I think he's a pretty decent backup catcher. But right now he's still on the outside looking in. So after d'Arnaud, Jackson's going to get a long look. Contreras will get a look as the 0-2 pitch is fouled back to the screen, and the count stays 0-2. 94-95 from Hunter Strickland on the in-park radar. So that's a question that they have to answer here, and we'll see how that goes.
They have Shea Langoliers, who's with them today, and the catching trio that they brought with him, and he's supposed to have a tremendous arm.
He's one of their top prospects.
Yeah, they're loaded a catcher from what it seems. Young catchers, though. Nobody proven, though, that much after d'Arnaud and maybe Flowers.
Now the 0-2 again, and that one is a little bit high and outside. Jeff Nelson again calling the balls and strikes. Sam Holbrook, Manny Gonzalez, and Adam Beck are the umpires out on the base paths. And during the spring, a lot of times they'll switch spots just to kind of get different views and different angles. Strickland from the belt, ready to go with a 1-2 pitch with one out and nobody on. And here's a pitch taken a little bit low. Did he go? And they say he didn't. And so the count now leveling at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Strickland definitely a guy that is going to be in the mix for that bullpen mix. You know, people have been asking me over the last few weeks now, all right, so what's the Rays rotation going to be like? I don't even think the Rays know what the rotation is going to be like right now. I think they're pretty certain it's going to be Glasnow and Yarbrough. And then we'll see how it plays out. There's a check swing, and I think he did go that time. Well, they didn't even bother to ask that. If he hit it, that might have been a double. But the count goes full to 3-2. Got to be careful, though. We've got to remember that they could probably hear us. It's only game 1, Dave. It's the second inning of game 1. Relax. 3 infielders are to the left of second base. But, yeah, Strickland's a lot of experience. A guy that, can light up the radar gun a bit in that mid-upper 90s. As he comes set and holds again just above the belt, leg kick on the pitch, and that one missed badly high, and it's ball 4. So it's the third walk by Rays pitching today, with 1 on and 1 out here in the second, and Demerit coming up.
Well, in line with what you were saying, Dave, I think it's always quality of pitchers, but I think this spring training more than most, it's also quantity. I mean, there are so many pitchers here. The Rays have 77 players in camp. 40 plus of them are pitchers. And you have so many different individual situations. Guys like Rich Hill coming off injury, Chris Archer coming off injury, Colin McHugh coming off injury. On and on, with also not really knowing what is the proper amount of innings for pitchers this year with the shortened season last year. So everybody's kind of on their own plan. Nobody knows exactly how to do it. There's not a handbook on how to come off a 60-game season. So I think every team has their own idea all across the game on how to best utilize these pitchers.
Rays infield looking to turn 2, 1 on, 1 out. The first pitch was a ball. Next one is in there for a strike, and the count evening up at a ball and a strike. Well, that's, obviously when you sit here on February 28th and you look and you say, are we better or as good as the team that lost to the Dodgers in the World Series? I don't think you can sit here and say yes when you don't have Charlie Morton and Blake Snell in your mix. You can't say yes right now. Could you say yes maybe at the end of spring training? Could you say yes maybe sometime in June? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of talent here. I mean, again, just looking up and down the roster, I mean, how many changes are we going to have on the field? There's not going to be a whole lot of change there. I mean, everybody's waiting for Wander Franco to kick in the door. Now, the pitching staff is going to be a bit in flux, trying to figure out, all right, where do we plug this guy in? But there's a bevy of different arm angles and speeds and different looks. And I was told there'd be no math, but we figured out that in a 162-game schedule, and if all games were 9 innings, which they're not going to be, you need to get about 1,458 outs. And the Rays are trying to figure how you get 1,458 outs while winning ball games. And they've done a wonderful job over these last several years of figuring ways to get people out with a menagerie of pitchers, a lot of injuries, and yet there they are putting up another banner after getting to the wild card game and winning it in 2019, taking the Astros to Game 5 that year, and then taking the Dodgers to a Game 6 of the World Series last year. And then even when they didn't get to the postseason in 18, winning 90 games. The 2-2 pitch, Demerit takes outside. The count goes full to 3-2.
To have a better winning percentage each of 4 years consecutively, that is very, very difficult to do.
And you're not going from 55 wins to 60 to 65. You're going from, just under 500 to 90 to 96 to then winning 2 out of every 3 games last year. It's remarkable. 3-2 pitch, and that one just missed inside. And so after the ground out by Almonte, back-to-back walks to Jackson and now Demerit. And with 2 on and 1 out, here's Bryce Ball.
Since 2008, Rays have the 5th best record in baseball, 6 trips to the postseason, 3 American League East Division titles, 2 World Series appearances. Only 3 teams have reached the postseason more than the Rays, Dodgers, Yankees, Cardinals, and only 2 teams have competed in more World Series than the Rays during that time, Dodgers and Giants. I mean, the Yankees have been in, 1 World Series since 2008. The Rays have been in 2.
First pitch, and that one spins outside for ball 1. Bryce Ball, in 62 minor league games, has hit .329 with 17 homers, 52 knocked in with 18 doubles. He is a big boy. Played his college ball at a junior college and then at Dallas Baptist out of Iowa. As he takes that pitch outside, it's 2-0, and now Kevin Smith wants to get with Hunter Strickland and trying to get him to get the ball over the strike zone again. And Ball might have been as hurt as anybody when you talk about a big guy with a big swing by missing out on a number of at-bats last year because of a no minor league season. But Braves still have some high hopes for this guy to maybe be, I hate to say Freddie Freeman 2.0 because that's just asking too much. But to be a guy who, can provide a little pop maybe at first base in a couple of years. He continues his ascension through the Braves organization. No score, 2 on, 1 out. The pitch is swung and rocketed in one hop by the dive of the shortstop Adames and into center field for a base hit. Jackson around third. He's going to come in and score. Margot's throw will head toward third base. And it's an RBI single by Bryce Ball. And it's 1-0 Atlanta here in the second. And that was a rocket.
Total scorcher. I thought for a second, actually, that Willie might be able to make the play. I mean, he dove to his right as hard as he could. But that ball was by him so fast. That was a scorcher.
It had that loud sound. And so one of the walks comes around to score. Rays with 4 walks already in this game. And it's 1-0 Atlanta. And now back to the top of the order we go. And Ender Inciarte. He walked his first time up. Again, infield looking at turn 2 with runners leading at first and second. Strickland ready to go. And the first pitch to him is taken outside for ball 1. Now, I'm not sure. I think Neil might even have the pitch count. But this could be one of those spots here, too, where you're trying to protect the pitchers, where you can roll over an inning if a pitcher gets to the other side of, 20, 25 pitches.
That's right.
So this will be his 22nd pitch already. The 1-0 pitch popped up into center field. Margot started back, now comes in and makes the catch, and there's out number 2. It was an adventure last spring, if you might recall, for Manuel Margot in this outfield. We had heard all about how good Manny was as a defensive outfielder. A lot of the metrics had him as a guy that was maybe a tick behind Kevin Kiermaier, but when he was playing in right field last year as he was trying to learn a new position, it was really a struggle. It really looked like it. And then when he'd get into center field during regular season games, he looked a heck of a lot more comfortable. But when you've got number 39, one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive center fielder in the game, your time there is going to be kind of few and far between. So I think, as we all know, Manuel got much better defensively in right field. The first pitch breaking ball to Dansby Swanson is in there for a strike. 0-1 to count, including that spectacular catch that he had against the Houston Astros in San Diego. Swanson walked his first time. 2 on, 2 out. Infield back, and the Braves lead 1-0. Now Strickland ready with the 0-1. Another spinner, and that one is in there for a strike. So back-to-back curveballs. And he has Swanson behind in the count, 0-2.
A year ago, Manuel's father was one of the first to get COVID, ended up dying during the regular season. There was way more going on in the mind of Manuel Margot a year ago than we ever knew. And then as the year went on, his father ultimately did pass. Unfortunately, Manuel was able to go back for the funeral, but when he came back in the end of the year, he had some big moments, and then the whole postseason he was a threat. You get the feeling he could have a big year this season.
0-2 the count. Runners lead the pitch. Breaking ball, Buckler, and that one just missed a little bit high. Maybe a little outside as well, and the count 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, the Braves, as we said, last year they went 35-25, winning the National League East. And think about this. For everybody who talks about how tough it is for the Rays being in the American League East and having to battle the likes of the big spending New York Yankees and the Red Sox, and now even the big spending outside of radio for Blue Jays. Here's the 1-2 pitch, a swing and a foul back to the screen.
They got kind of cheap on the radio end, didn't they?
So But I digress. But, you look at this division that the Rays are in, and then who do they play this year but the National League East? Yeah. And, you look at the Braves and how good they're going to be. I mean, the bell of the ball this offseason was the Mets and the things that they do. You got the Phillies. And, that's right, the Washington Nationals are in that division. If you time it wrong in interleague play and end up playing any one of those teams where they can throw their 1 and 2 guy at you, and I'm not even mentioning the Marlins, you're in big trouble. Because here's a swing and a pop-up, right side of the infield. Brasso on the dirt part of the infield is there to make the catch. He moves a little bit to his right, and that will retire the side. So the Braves get one, but only one, and again, leave a couple. We go to the bottom half of inning number 2 here in Port Charlotte. Atlanta 1 and the Rays. Nothing, and now let's check in for the first time with Neil Solondz.
Thanks, Dave. You mentioned earlier in the game Austin Meadows and him dropping about 15 pounds going into camp, and was asked this week what he did in his training to get ready for 2021.
Cone drills, stuff like that, short drills, short bursts, stuff like that, just to kind of get back to that, back to that form, back to that feeling that I'm light on my feet and I'm quick, and go out there and show them that I can, be quick on my routes, be quick on the bases, and it feels good to kind of get back to that form.
Kevin also had mentioned that in the little time he's seen you swing the bat, that it seems you're getting to certain pitches easier than, let's say, the end of last year already this spring. How do you feel, and where do you think you're more like 2019 in terms of your swing and what you're able to do? Yeah,
I feel good. I think the key, especially for me, is feeling athletic in the box. And I think that I've gone back to that. I feel athletic. I feel light on my feet. I feel like I'm able to get to balls quicker and better when it comes to inside pitches. The other day I was fouling balls off towards a first base, and I was just getting the balls quick, and I think that kind of showed that, I'm ready to go, and those fast twitch muscles are back. And I just feel good. Like I said, coming in lighter, coming in good shape and everything like that. I feel like that puts you in the best spot possible when it comes to not only hitting, but everything, and especially the endurance and the durability throughout the year and staying healthy as well.
And that's Austin Meadows. You can see more on our blog, raysradio.mlblogs.com. We go to the bottom of the second. First exhibition game in Port Charlotte. Rays down 1-0 to the Braves. Here's Dave and Andy.
Okay, Neil, thank you very much. And great to be with you, of course, as always. Tampa Bay Rays Spring Training is brought to you by Visit Tampa Bay. Step out of your dreams and into the sun. Plan your next outdoor adventure at visittampabay.com.
Now, you sit there and you think about this schedule for the Rays, and like we said, you've got the American League East, which is tough enough, but if you time it wrong in the National League East during interleague play, and you go in and face the Mets, and they can start with DeGrom and follow up with whoever, or the Nationals, who can have Scherzer and Strasburg go at you, or the Braves, who can go with any one of 2 or 3 guys that could give you fits, and then the Marlins, we know what a couple of their young guys are like. It's not. It could be bad. It could be really, really bad for you. As leading it off here in the bottom of the second is Yoshi, and he swings and pops one up down the left field line. Demerit coming in over toward the line, giving chase is Riley, and it's going to elude all of them and bounce in foul territory and go on a play for a strike, and the count is 0-2. So, when the pundits sit here and say that, all right, the Rays might get to 88 wins, there's nothing wrong with 88 wins when you think about what the Rays might have to go through. Now, again, here we are on February 28th, and we're still not even 100% certain as to how the playoffs are going to be put together. Right now it's supposed to be the way it went in 2019, but that could change, which, again, is somewhat mind-boggling. Makes my brain hurt. Here's a pitch bounced in, and they count 1-2. So, but it is good to be back, and like I said, we haven't seen each other face-to-face since game...
Nope.
Well, the day after Game 6 when we got on a plane and headed home from Arlington, Texas.
That's right.
A few Zooms, a few FaceTimes, a lot of texts. The 1-2 pitch, and that's a little bit low. We're doing it through glass now. Andy's over on the TV side of the booth, and I'm on the radio side with Mark Hayes and Chris Miller roaming around here. It's good to get the band back together. Neil Solondz as well. We even saw one of our former booth concierges today. 2-2 pitch taken outside to Yoshi, and the count 3-2 is Rachel West, who now does some social media work for the Tampa Bay Times is here. Yoshi feels like he's a heck of a lot more comfortable going into 2021 than he was in 2020. The pitch, here's a swing, and he popped it up into shallow center field. Racing in is Inciarte, and he gets there to make the catch for out number 1.
Capital One has no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Capital One NA member, FDIC.
So here's Willie, and Willie, to me, is another guy to keep a close eye on here in 2021. A lot of people are waiting to see if and when Wander Franco gets to the big leagues. Willie, again, struggled with the bat toward the end of the regular season last year. Struggled throughout most of the postseason with the bat. But to his credit, and we talked about this a lot during the regular season and during the postseason, never let it carry over defensively. He was still spectacular defensively for the Rays, and especially in the postseason in that series against the Astros. Here's a swing and a drive. Center field. Inciarte back to the wall, and it's off the base of the wall at 4:14. He plays to Karam, and Willie is on his way to second and gets in there with a one-out double.
So we talked about how Brandon Lau was still able to have some big moments after a long struggle in October, but Willie never got those big moments, culminating making the last out of the World Series. But I've been a little concerned about Willie during this offseason. I know this is a guy with a terrific attitude and really a leader-type player, but that was tough to go through offensively what he did while still playing that stellar defense like you say. But I just like even to see that ball fly off the bat like it just did.
It sounded great, too. Mm-hmm. Here's Manuel Margot batting in the number 8 spot. 1-0 Atlanta here in the bottom of the second inning. And the first pitch to Manny is taken over the outside edge for strike 1. Now, and the other thing about Willie, too, is, he still was a great teammate throughout the whole thing, too. He was always one of the first guys off of the bench to congratulate somebody after a big hit. Was always waving guys around the bases. And we felt for him. We really, really did.
It hurt.
The 0-1 pitch. Breaking ball. This one's lined to left. Demerit going back to the wall. He can't get it. It's off the wall. Karen's away from him. Willie around third. He's going to come in and score. Margot into second base. It's back-to-back doubles for the Rays, and we're tied at 1.
Talk about a ball coming off a bat high. Margot, right from the very beginning of postseason, it was almost like a second opening day. In that wild card series against the Blue Jays, he came up big, including the home run. The postseason home runs he hit later on out in San Diego against the Yankees and the Houston Astros, the tumbling catch he made, and Wells showed us what he can do there in October. And, man, that was one backspun liner right there.
So Manny had 11 runs batted in during the regular season. Was, again, if Rosarena doesn't have the incredible postseason that he had, I think Manny's postseason would have been looked at as really, really good. And it was still good. But it was just overshadowed. As there's Kevin Smith with a man at second base, and he takes the first pitch of the knees for strike 1.
And another one that had a really good postseason is Mike Zunino, who's not in the lineup today, but is back with the Rays. You never know sometimes who's going to be the hero of your postseason.
And he leads at second base. Infield back is Smith, right-handed hitter with an open stance, fouls that pitch at the plate. The count is quickly 0-2. Another good story, and I'm a little biased because I had a chance to have a couple of beverages with him a few years ago, but Brian Snitker, the manager of the Atlanta Braves, it's really, really good to see him getting some benefits and rewards for the job that he has done as manager of this team, winning the back-to-back-to-back National League East titles. 0-2 pitch, and there's another one that gets away from Alex Jackson. It's the third time they've thrown one to the backstop today. And on the wild pitch, the third of the day, and Manuel Margot moves to third base. But Snitker, he has spent 45 seasons now with the Atlanta Braves organization. Came up as a player. Reminds me a little bit of like the Joe Madden of the Braves. The way Joe was with the Angels for all those years. Just kind of toiled in the minor leagues for a long number of years and then finally took over as an interim manager a number of years ago, and now leading them to the playoffs each of the last 3 years, getting him to one game of the World Series last year. They signed him to a contract extension just a couple of days ago through the 23 season, and with a club option for 24. So good for him, and good to see good things happen to good people. Infield is in with the count now level at 2-2 to Kevin Smith, and the pitch is taken high, and the count goes full of 3-2. Smith, the number 9 hitter, with Austin Meadows waiting in the on-deck area. 1-1 game here in the second.
You mentioned Snitker joined the Braves in '77, a non-drafted free agent. Who could have predicted that he would be the guy that would be the organization for, by the end of this contract, close to half century?
So 3-2 the count. With the infield in, the pitch swung on and grounded toward the hole and into left field for a base hit. So through the drawn in infield, Smith makes contact and gets it between Swanson and Riley. And Margot can walk home, and it's 2-1 Rays here in the second. Well, what did you and I talk about during the pregame, other than our incredible boxed lunch?
Yeah.
Which was, thank you very much to everybody involved there. But we talked a little bit about the offense of the Rays, and we always get our spring crush. We always think this offense is going to be better than it was a year ago, and we are right there again. We do believe that this offense will be better, and one of the things we touched on, Andy, was the fact that this was an offense that I think, again, last year probably hit as well as we expected, hit some home runs too. The area that was really just not good was runners in scoring position. They were, especially over the last 6 or 8 weeks of the season, they were atrocious. No getting around it, and 2 chances today here in this inning, and 2 chances they got them in.
Yeah, and look, it's February 28th. We probably won't remember it long after today, but if that is the way this team is going to get better offensively, then it actually, for the first time in forever that I can remember, will take some pressure off of the pitching staff, because this team has been led by the pitching staff going back to 2008. Not that they've been a poor hitting team, but they're never led by their offense. This year, I think they have so many different combinations of players throughout the infield and the outfield that it's going to, in part, result in a better bench. I think the Rays will have better pinch hitting situations this year with guys coming off the bench. You look at them and say, well, maybe they have one too many outfielders. Where does Yoshi fit in? Everybody feels good at this point of spring training, and everybody feels optimistic. But bottom line, if this team can just hit a little bit more offensively, and, man, I'm with you. We're Charlie Brown in the football every year. We think this team is finally going to break loose offensively, and it hasn't really happened to the degree that we probably expect every year. But call me gullible or whatever, but I think I'm all in again, thinking that this team is going to hit better, maybe even than last year's team. If Meadows can come back to what he was in 19, if Yoshi can do what we feel very strong, the Rays aren't wrong much. If he can do what the Rays feel that he did, at least in part, that he did in Japan, and then you can get guys staying healthy. Of course, you need Yandy to stay healthy every year. It's been a couple of trips to the injured list. But I don't know. I could see this team hitting a lot better, but record this and play it back every year, because we've said the same thing now for this our 17th year.
No, and again, it starts by moving the baseball. This team really does have to cut down on the strikeouts. And those strikeouts started really popping up about a month into the season last year, and out of nowhere, next thing you know, we were looking and they were leading the league in strikeouts again. And they just were piling up in 10 and 12 and 14 a game, and those are unproductive outs 99.9% of the time, and they've got to be better at moving the baseball. They know it. As Austin Meadows takes a look at the first pitch from Connor Johnstone into strike. Next one is lifted in the air to right field and deep. Almonte to the wall, and it's off the top of the padding, over the padding for a home run. It rattled around the top of the padding just below the 384 sign, and then tucked its way underneath the baseball boardwalk out there in right center field. And it's a 2-run home run for Austin Meadows and the Rays. Now lead it 4-1. Just like his home run almost in San Diego in the American League Championship Series, where it just made it above the padding. And Austin Meadows, who had 4 homers last year during the regular season, picks up his first spring homer here. First pitch swinging. Randy Arozarena, and he fouls it off for strike 1. That's good to see from Meadows. Say he's already getting to some pitches, and here we are, as we said, in late February, that he had trouble getting to all of last year. So here's a swing and a chopper out towards short. Swanson has it, throws across in time to take care of Randy, and there's out number 2. I mean, I think you look at this Rays offense and you sit there and you say, all right, well, where can they get better? And I think you know, Rosarena, is he going to get better than what he was in the postseason? Probably not, but could he be as good or not, maybe even a little better than he was during the regular season? I think there's a possibility of that. Austin Meadows staying healthy, staying on the field. I mean, this was a guy that was an all-star. This was a guy that, you know, a couple of years ago when he was still with the Pirates, that Joe Madden thought could be a Rookie of the Year when he saw him while he was a Cub manager. Yandy Diaz shows that he is an elite guy who can hit elite pitching. As Brandon takes that pitch outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Yoshi has room for improvement. Willie has room for improvement. Margot, I think, another year comfortable with this team. I think Kiermaier could be a guy that could still be, if he's just be the guy that he was in the postseason last year. Again, I'm not asking him to be 285 or 290, but give me 250, 255 with a threat to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And then when you get on the bases, be a threat. That could be a difference maker. And then, like you said, if Mike Zunino can do what he did more so in the postseason, I think toward the end he started getting wore down. And I think that happened to a couple of players. And we've read some comments about that here the last few days. As the 2-2 pitch to Brandon is in the dirt, swung on and missed, and that's a pitch that he had trouble with last year. And it's knocked down by Jackson. He'll throw to first, and that will retire the side. The strikeout, and then 2-3 on the putout. And that'll do it for the Rays here in the second. But they put 4 runs on the board, and we're through 2 in Port Charlotte. It's the Rays 4, Atlanta 1 on the Rays Baseball Network.
Introducing the, I don't know, what do you want for dinner? Meal from Outback Steakhouse. It's a delicious platter of whatever you choose.
Back as the pitch. By giving up only 1 run. And now here is Andrew Kittredge, who again looked like he was on the verge of really, he and Jalen Beeks, you think about guys that were about ready to step up and be big parts of the bullpen, and then unfortunately after both pitchers had big moments in games, they walked off the mound the next day with an arm injury. And for Beeks, it's going to be a year-long thing. Kittredge is able to work his way back to health, or so we hope, here during the offseason. He's on the mound here, and to take over the play-by-play for the next couple. Here's Andy.
All right, Dave, thank you. 4-1 Rays, and Kittredge back on the mound, which is very good to see. And the first pitch is grounded into the hole, diving deep into the hole to his right as Adames gets up and throws to first, not in time. Beautiful play from Willie Adames, and a very long throw, which got to first baseman Brasso on 1 hop, but just beaten out by Riley.
Yeah, Riley, after he hit the ball, kind of thought he had a base hit, and I did too.
Yep.
And then Willie was able to dive to his right, come up with it in short left field. And that's when Riley put his head down and just said, I better run hard to first base. And he just barely beat it out. Beautiful play, though, by Willie to even get to that baseball.
Boy, just spectacular play by Willie, and that's a long throw. I mean, he was several steps out to left field. So it is a hit for Riley. Leadoff man on, and here is the veteran Pablo Sandoval, popped out to first with a couple of men on his first time. So to follow up on what Dave was saying, I mean, Kittredge did have some big moments last year. Pitched really well in a game at Fenway Park, getting a save. As Sandoval takes a strike over the outside corner at his 0-1. In fact, he came in, 1 out in the ninth inning, allowed a base hit to J.D. Martinez, and then got a fly out and a strikeout. It was his first career save. The Rays said they were going to open him the next game. He faced 2 batters and walked off the mound with the injured elbow. There's a pitch in the dirt, and it's now 1-1 strike to Sandoval. And that was right in the stretch of the year where it seemed like the Rays were losing a pitcher a day to what ended up being Tommy John surgeries, whether it be Yanni Chirinos or Jalen Beeks or Colin Poche. Kittredge right in that mix, and yet somehow he was able to get through without having to have that surgery. He's a non-rostered player this year. Sandoval grounds one sharply up the middle for a base hit. Right over the bag at second. A big turnaround second. Now a stop by Riley, and it's 2 on and none out for Atlanta.
Well, Kittredge, even you go back the last couple of years outside of last year, was always a guy that was kind of a notorious slow starter. And the next thing you know, come August or so, after a couple of months at AAA, would be throwing the ball a little bit harder, have a little more movement, and would work his way back onto the big league roster at that particular time. Last year made it from the get-go, but I think, again, some concern when you have an elbow issue that he did not have surgery on, he just rehabbed it. Are you really, really ready to let it go, or is that always in the back of your mind, that pain that you had the last time you really did?
Swinging a pop-up by Jason Kipnis, a left-handed batter, and out of play to the left side, 0-1. Well, it'll take time to get comfortable again for many players, but we've been hearing velocity-wise that he's right where he needs to be. That fastball at 94. The Rays always have liked his slider against both righties and lefties. He has never been as consistent as the Rays would like, but he's been a workman-like pitcher. And thankfully, to his good fortune, he has not had to have the Tommy John surgery, which is always usually, 14, 18 months of out of action. He checks his swing. The ball is in the dirt and gets away from Smith, and both runners advance. Riley to third and Sandoval to second.
Hard to tell if that would be a pass ball or a wild pitch. I thought, to me, it sounded like it just hit him in the mitt.
Yeah.
And just wasn't able to keep it in front of him. So without the benefit of the replay, it's coin flip time over in the press box to see what they think. But nonetheless, men move over to second and third now. The Braves with a chance to cut into this deficit.
Official score today is Craig Vanderkamp. I've heard of that guy. Here comes to Kipnis. Another ball in the dirt. This time good block by Smith. 1-2 strikes is the official count to Kipnis.
So it is a pass ball. And it's one of those things, too, where you and I touched on this a number of times over the last few years. It's not a stat that they keep, but I find it really, really hard to believe that there's a pitching staff in baseball that throws more balls in the dirt than the Rays do. With the velocity that they have, with the breaking pitches that they utilize.
Here's Kipnis swinging and fouling one down the left field line out of play. 1-2.
It's really, to be a catcher on this Rays staff, you've got to be really, really good defensively. And I think that's one of the reasons why, again, they brought back Mike Zunino, is because he is good defensively. He can handle the velocity. And the pitchers who bounce it in, who do what they do, they have a trust of Mike behind home plate. And so that's another thing you don't want to be thinking about as you're getting ready to throw a pitch, is if I throw this pitch, can my catcher keep it around home plate?
Kittredge throws 1-2, grounded back to Kittredge off his glove, and now off the glove of Willie Adames near the bag at second. So a seeing eye, RBI for Jason Kipnis. To third base goes Sandoval, and it's 4-2 Rays.
Well, they're going to call that an error on Adames, and that's a tough error. I mean, when you're moving that way, especially after the ball went off the glove of the pitcher to begin with. So things are a different spin than what you were initially ready for. And now you're thinking, I've got to hurry because the ball's been slowed down. That's a tough error. I think right there, if anything, that's a play that Kittredge has to start making. And I know, again, they've worked on him in the backfields with pitchers infield practice, so on and so forth, but you very rarely do you ever really feel a ground ball in pitchers infield practice the exact way that you finish a pitch. And that's what Kittredge kind of comes around and coils his body when he's done with it, and he just couldn't get the glove around fast enough to get that baseball.
First and third for Atlanta. Sandoval at third, Kipnis at first. Nobody out. 4-2 Rays and Abraham Almonte with the count 1-0. Kittredge throws. There's a slider. Strike over the outside. It's 1-1.
So it was an E6 until I get him to change it.
Right, I think they will.
And then give an RBI to Kipnis.
Dave is about to go in and just blow their hair back. But you've got to keep your mask on, which makes it
hard
harder.
Then you can't blow anybody's hair back when you got a mask on.
Much more difficult. 1 ball, 1 strike. Almonte takes in the dirt. Kevin Smith
and
back.
I think, in our 101 pages of COVID protocol that we received, I think blowing one's hair back is not allowed during COVID.
Nope.
So you're not allowed to do it.
Even if both are wearing masks. That's the little addendum underneath.
You are not allowed to blow anybody's hair back during COVID.
2 balls, 1 strike to Almonte. 4-2 Rays. Infield has 3 men to the right side. Kittredge on top and deals. Swing and a miss. At a fastball that got to 93, elevated there. We've seen Kittredge hit 96 before. Velocity seems to be there so far this inning, but a couple of well-hit balls by Atlanta, and then that little softy by Kipnis, which worked just as well. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Almonte. Open stance from the left side. Kittredge fires. Backdoor slider, strike 3 called. Right on the outside corner, and down goes Almonte. Kittredge gets the K. Runners hold at first and third, and with 1 out, up steps Alex Jackson.
Well, it's nice to be back. It's great to see you. Great to see Andy, Mark, Chris, Larry, everybody. Dukes, we hadn't seen Dukes in almost a year. And so, great to see a lot of people here around the ballpark that we haven't seen in a while. But also great to hear from everybody on Twitter, at Dave Wills 34, at Andrew Freed 33, or at Rays Radio. The boys, the lads from Montreal checked in. Boy, they look nice and cozy, don't they?
They're ready to go as Jackson, right-hand batter, swings and misses. It's 0-1.
Got our buddy Andrew and Jeff, and also Steve checked in, and they're in their lawn chairs and piles of snow. They could keep their beverages right in the snow and keep them cold.
It is handy.
It is.
We don't get that down
here. It's worked
here.
before. I've used it before.
Kittredge to the belt, a closed stance on the mound. Now steps to the plate, swinging a ground ball to the hole at short in front of Adames. Flips to second for 1. The turn to first by Lowe, and he gets a double play. Beautifully done. Adames to Brandon Lowe to Mike Brasso, a 6-4-3 double play, and Kittredge gets out of it with only the 1 run allowed. At the end of 2.5 in spring training game number 1, it's Rays 4, Atlanta 2 on the Rays Radio Network.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too...
Sports Park this spring. Fans in attendance can bring their ticket from the MLB Ballpark app to Hooters on Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte for a free beer. You must be 21 years or older. That's what they're calling this, the Battle of Tamiami Trail. At the Braves now just down the road a little bit in Northport, Sarasota County. And the Braves are going to see these Braves 7 times during the spring, including then another series right after the All-Star break during the regular season. The Rays saw the Braves early on last year. They played 2 at Tropicana Field and then 2 in Atlanta. They split that series. It was 2 apiece. And, again, it was kind of shaping up like these 2 teams were going to meet each other again in the World Series, and the Dodgers just did not cooperate. And the Braves have had to kind of live with that throughout this entire offseason. They used, again, to get to the World Series last year, they used 48 players, 28 of them pitchers, to kind of work their way through. Their offense really bailed them out a lot last year while they were still trying to find their footing pitching-wise.
Here's Mike Brasso against the new pitcher, lefty Sean Newcomb, and it is a strike on 1.
Newcomb, one of the guys, though, that, again, a bullpen that, as we've always said, and we learned this from Andrew Friedman early on in our stay here with the Rays, is that it's always a volatile spot. And it's hard to really, unless you have a Mariano or somebody at the back end of your bullpen that you can always count on, and you build up from there. It's one of those things where sometimes you really don't know what you're going to get year to year. And the Braves saw a lot of veterans leave after last year.
And this pitch is swung on and missed.
Darren O'Day, among others, Mark Melanson, Shane Green. I mean, they had a number of people from that bullpen depart. Now, they feel like between Newcomb and Minter and a few other folks, a couple lefties, they've got a pretty balanced bullpen going into 2021.
Newcomb on the 1-2 pitch is fouled away to the right side, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
But, again, conventional wisdom has always been you want to make your bullpen better. Your starters need to be probably a little bit better, and maybe with some health and with the addition of Charlie Morton, and then they're taking a chance on Drew Smiley. They feel like if their starters can go a little bit longer, they're going to be in better shape.
Newcomb throws 1-2. Brasso swings and taps it back to the plate. Foul. It stays 1-2.
I mentioned Ian Anderson, who put together a really, really good postseason last year, and still a rookie, had 41 strikeouts and just only 32 innings pitched last year for the Braves.
Tell you what, there's a guy that stepped forward. It was Max Fried, and we saw him early in the season. He ended up going 7-0. Gave up only 2 homers during the regular season. The pitch to Brasso up and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. That guy was very impressive, had a 2.25 ERA. And then, if I'm going off memory, I think he gave up 2 homers early to the Dodgers in Game 6 after giving up just 2 during the regular season to the whole league. The 2-2 to Brasso is inside, full count 3-2.
Yeah, an interesting note, though, too. Only Garrett Cole has more wins than Max Fried.
Wow.
Since the beginning of the 19th season. And that's pretty good company.
Just a real slippery left-hander, and he was very good against the Rays last early part of the year. The 3-2 pitch to Brasso is launched in the air towards left. The wind blowing out. Back to the bullpen, gone. Home run. Travis DeMerit thought he had a play out there in left, and with the wind blowing out to left, it just rode right on into the Atlanta bullpen. Home run Brasso, 5-2 Rays.
Reminding me a little bit of Game 7 against or Game 5, I should say, against the Yankees in the ALDS. You had Meadows' home run that just barely cleared the wall in right field like it did in that game in San Diego, and then this Brasso homer well into the bullpen out there down the left field line. And again, the dimensions here in Charlotte Sports Park are a little bit deeper than they are in San Diego, and so I would be surprised if that home run matched foot by foot that he did in San Diego too.
Yandy Diaz takes ball 1. Let us pause for station identification of the Tampa Bay Rays Radio Network.
WTAE St. Petersburg, WBTP HD3 Clearwater, W224BE Brandon, and W237CW Park.
Diaz takes off 2-0 with Dave Wills and Neil Solondz. I'm Andy Freed from Port Charlotte. Mark Hayes, our engineer. Chris Miller with us as well. Rays lead 5-2. In the lid lifter, you might call it, of the Grapefruit League. We're in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And Newcomb throws. Airs a strike over the inside to Diaz. 2 balls, 1 strike. Brasso will forever be remembered for that home run, but You know, Dave, you were saying earlier about why was Dusty Baker continuing to pitch to Rosarena. I totally agree, but the Yankees were guilty of it too. There's a pitch low and outside, 3-1, because earlier, before Brasso had homered, a Rosarena just missed hitting one out that might have given the Rays a leg up in that Game 5.
Well, I'm not going to give the Yankees any credit, but at least, in the first 4 games or 5 games of a series, it's like you're thinking, all right, well, sooner or later this guy's going to cool down.
There's ball 4, low and inside the Diaz.
Well, there's no way he's going to keep on doing it all the time, is he? And he did. And then by the time you get to the Astros series and you've played 6 and 7 games against the team, and he's still doing it, which is now over a dozen games, 14 games into the postseason, that's when I think, as a manager, you got to figure out that my dad used to say, I roll the ball to him 4 times. I don't let him.
And then he hit 3 more in the World Series. This craziness. Visit to the mound here from Alex Jackson. A homer to Brasso and a walk to Yandy Diaz. Rays have a man on with nobody out. Yoshi Tsutsugo is the batter. Flying to center is only time up.
The key for the Braves this year, again, is their offense has to stay good. Their pitching has room for improvement. You look at last year, in less than half of the games, barely, about a third of the games, that they had a starter go 5 innings or more.
Yoshi takes first pitch outside, 1-0.
23 games last year where they had a starter go at least 5 innings. Yeah. And they went 19-4 in those games. Yeah. In the games when their starters went 4 innings or less, they went 15-8. Now, they had an offense that could overcome it.
Yoshi fouls one straight back, 1-1.
And, you think back to the National League East and the American League East last year, maybe, all right? I think especially some of the staffs in the National League East that were derailed by injuries, it might have been easier to do last year. You're going to have to be better on the mound this year if you're the Braves to win the division.
The 1-1 to Tsutsugo is lifted high and fouled to the left side and well out of play, 1-2.
And, again, when Soroka comes back from the Achilles, he's going to be slotted into one of the top 3 spots in that rotation. You've got Max Fried, who you mentioned, Charlie Morton. They've got him penciled in to be one of the top starters. Ian Anderson had a tremendous year, so they're pretty thick now.
Yoshi looks at a strike 3 called on the outside. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball by Newcomb. Yoshi retired for out number 1. Fastball sneaked by him there. Runner at first, Diaz, 1 away. Yandy being held by Sandoval, and up comes Willy Adames. This segment of the order kicked off 4 consecutive hits by the Rays, and driving in 4 runs. Willie with a blazing double over the head of Enciarte, and that's tough to do, as good a center fielder as he is. His first time up, breaking ball in the dirt, and it's 1-0. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Rays, 2 runs, 3 hits for Atlanta. 1 ball, no strikes to Adames. He ended up scoring on the double by Margot, who's out on deck. 1 ball, no strikes. And Willie takes outside. It'll probably be 2 at-bats and done for the starters today. And remember, it's just a 7-inning game tonight, as it is around most of the game, these early spring training games. 2 balls, no strikes to Adames. And there's a strike at the top of the zone, 2-1.
And the thought process is that up until about the middle part of March, that games will be 7 innings till about March 13th, which culminates with my birthday.
It does.
And they'll be scheduled for 7 innings, and then after that, they'll extend them to 9 innings, but then they can be kind of shortened to 7 innings if they run out of pitchers or run into some troubles. But
Willie fouls it back, 2-2.
Trying to limit the amount of, again, people in the dugout, people on a bus going to the games. You don't have the minor league guys showing up now until after the big league guys leave, so there's no 100-player pool on the backfields to say, hey, you're going to wear 98, you're going to wear 101.
Adames takes breaking ball low, full count, 3-2.
You're going to wear 2/3. Eddie Goodell's number, or whatever that was. So it's one of those things where you got to make do. Now, there are over 70 players in camp. You should be able to make your way through spring training games when you have close to 70 players in camp for both sides.
Full count, 3-2. Diaz with a lead at first. Newcomb's pitch, slice foul. Yeah, the Rays 77 players on their spring roster.
But I think that also includes the players who are on the who are now on the DL or on the IL, as it's called.
It is a record, that number 77, the largest camp roster that the Rays ever had, 76 players back in 1999. deep in the Devil Rays years. Here's a pitch up and outside, ball 4. Adames got ahead in the count, fouled a few off, accepted his walk, and up to second goes Diaz. 2 on, 1 out. And up steps Manuel Margot.
I got to give some kudos to us. Out with talking with my buddy Chico Fernandez yesterday for a little while to get, you really want to know what's going on in camp. You get together with Chico and Tank. I didn't get a chance to see Tank, but Chico was raving about the job that Matt Quatrero, the Rays bench coach, has done in organizing and putting together this camp. And again, I asked him a couple of times about different players, and he said, because of COVID, we have been so spread out.
Margot takes a big cut and fouls it back onto the screen 0-1.
So there have been very, very few times where all 70 guys have been on the same field or maybe even in the same 2 fields, so they've had to spread the guys out. So he says, there are some guys who I probably haven't even seen yet. But with all that going on with the COVID protocols and having different players on different sides of the field in different areas, he said Matt Quatrero has done a wonderful job of running this camp and deserves some kudos for it.
Newcomb throws, beautiful breaking ball. Strike 2 called over the outside. 0-2 to Margot.
And all the coaches and the staff and putting this whole thing together. But, Matt, to me, if, say, he was on a major market team that would, get a little more pub, like from some of the big boys, I don't think he'd still be here as a bench coach. I think he'd be a manager somewhere.
0-2 pitch, swung on and missed, strike 3. So Margot retired on 3 pitches. 2 out, 2 on. And they're saying that's going to be the inning, even though there's 2 outs. So that's going to be the inning. And 2 men left. This is what you call the rollovers, right? So that's it. The Braves will come off the field, even though there were only 2 outs in the inning. The Rays get a run on the Brasso home run. And we're finished with 3. At the end of 3, it is Rays 5, Atlanta 2, back with the 4th on the Rays Radio Network.
I'm Kevin Cash, and living here my whole life, I know 2 things. Crown has been a big Rays fan since the beginning.
Provider of Tropicana Field and the Tampa Bay Rays, you know you're getting the best from the best. To set up a
social distancing and wash your hands frequently. Raise up, mask up. Left-hander Jeffrey Springs is on the pitch for the Rays. Just picked up not even a couple of weeks ago. The Rays picking him up right at the beginning of spring training from the Boston Red Sox.
95.3 WDA.
They bring in Springs here, and again, his numbers last year with the Boston Red Sox not all that impressive in a short period of time, and I think the Rays roughed him up in a game one time, but they feel a couple of tweaks. Maybe, again, as the Rays like to do, they like to enforce the positives and tell a pitcher, all right, well, this is what you do really, really well, so keep doing that really, really well, and you'll get big league hitters out. And that's what they're hoping they can do with Springs, give another look from the left side. So we'll see how it plays out as he comes down here to pitch. The top of the 4th inning with the Rays leading 5-2.
You think about it, some of the guys that the Rays got last year that were able to apply that theory, like Dave is talking about, is much of the big reason why the Rays were able to do what they did last year. John Curtis and Aaron Slegers and Ryan Sheriff and on. Springs' first pitch is too high, 1-0 to right-hand batting Demerit. Drew a walk his first time. Springs over the head with his windup and drops one low and outside. 2 balls, no strikes. And as it turned out, the Rays ended up getting 1 year out of Curtis, traded him to the Marlins, and Sleggers 1 year, traded him to the Angels. The Rays get Springs along with Chris Mazza, a right-hander. There's strike called on the inside, 2-1 to Demerit. In the same trade, a bit of a surprise because we had been hearing about Ronaldo Hernandez, a Rays catcher, as a big-time, probably the lead catching prospect in the organization, but he was dealt for these 2 pitchers. Spins one off inside, 3-1 to Demerit.
We heard all about his offensive prowess, but as we know with the Rays, they're also one that worry about, and maybe even more so, how that particular catcher is going to handle a pitching staff. And they said he still had some work to do in that regard.
The 3-1 pitch is ball 4. Demerit walked for the second time.
And so it comes down to the fact that in order to get something, you usually got to give up something. And in order to get the 2 pitchers that they wanted, Chaim Bloom knows all about some of the Rays minor league players, and that was the trade they were able to work out and get done.
I think the Rays felt also that they're a little better organizationally at catcher with some of the trades they had made earlier on.
Francisco Mejia is a guy that they're really raving about his throwing arm.
First pitch to ball, lefty on lefty is a strike, 0-1.
There's a guy that I talked to Ken Kravik, a longtime big league scout who works in the Rays front office, and he said, a few years ago, this guy was not only one of the top prospects of the Indians, he was one of the top prospects in the game.
Oh, absolutely. 0-1. There goes Demerit. The pitch outside, thrown out to second by Smith is high and late. A stolen base for Travis Demerit. So a guy we didn't even think was going to be in the lineup has been productive in 2 times on the bases.
How many times does a guy who's in the lineup, not in the lineup, but he's in the lineup, in the spring have a big game?
We got 2 different lineups today. We chose the one with Heredia in it.
You chose poorly.
We sure did. So he's at second.
I'm blaming Neil and Kregels. Yep. I caught it, and they both shunned me. They said to shun, to push away, and I had to go tail between my legs back, and I had Demerit in my original lineup and had to put a righty in there.
So they get a Demerit for that
They
mistake.
should get a Demerit, yes.
2 balls, Demerit. 1 strike to count to Bryce Ball. RBI singled his first time up. One catcher that the Rays got in the Blake Snell deal from the Padres, and a check swing, he went around, and that strike 2-2 is Blake Hunt, who he could be at Double-A this year. Definitely a guy that is on the rise. Mejia, as Dave mentioned. A guy like Heriberto Hernandez, the Rays got in the Nate Lowe deal, could be a catching prospect. So the Rays felt like they could trade Hernandez to get these 2 pitchers back instantly for the bullpen. 2-2 the count. Demerit with a healthy lead, and the pitch low and outside, 3-2. There was a part, we're going to have to find the audio cut last year where John Curtis explained why he felt that he had such success with the Rays after being a guy that bounced around a little bit. Dave was touching on the edges of it about how the Rays accentuate the positive. But the Rays are just so darn organized, too, about getting that pitcher to buy in and why that is working for the pitcher, getting him on board.
Aaron Slegger said the same thing.
Absolutely. Here's the 3-2 now to ball. Strike 3 called. Breaking ball and ball retired.
Well, I'm sure, again, I know it's only February 28th, but Bryce Ball probably not too many times in his college career, being a big slugger that he is, and at the lower levels of the minor leagues, and 3-2, he's focused on the fastball. When he got the breaking ball right there, he just had no chance of making any kind of an adjustment. And buckled him, and he's on his way back to that third base dugout.
One of the things, too, also that the Rays are to be commended for is even if things aren't going well for that pitcher for a while, if he's doing what the Rays were expressing that they want him to do, they will stick with you. And here's the first pitch to left-hand batting Inciarte up for the third time, takes high 1-0, and look no farther than John Curtis in the postseason. That game he had against the Yankees, 5 runs in that 9th inning where the Yankees blew the Rays out in that 1 inning, and yet there he was getting some important outs later in that series, it would have been very easy to run away from him, but the Rays committed to these players, and I think that's one great strength of this organization. It's hard to do, and the pitch to Inciarte, did it hit him? It came inside. He's saying it got him on the elbow guard, and home plate umpire Jeff Nelson agrees. So a hit by pitch will put Braves runners at first and second.
Yeah, I think at first he thought it hit him in the bat, and then Inciarte said, it got me on my elbow guard, and Jeff's like, you wouldn't lie to me, would you? So he told him, go ahead, take first base. And it did have more of the sound of plastic than it did wood.
It did.
And but and you go back to, and we point to this moment a lot, or at least I do. You go back to 2 years ago in Los Angeles, where Pete Fairbanks in Game 1 of that series against the Dodgers got beat up, and then there he is the very, very next day trying to get the final outs in extra innings on one of the best wins for the Rays that particular season. Propelled the Rays into the postseason, helped propel them into the postseason, and helped make Pete Fairbanks who Pete Fairbanks is now going forward. And
what a prime example that is.
And I think it's a case, that's what Kevin Cash is all about. And I think it's consistency. It's not running away from guys. And, he's going to have to live, and he knows it. He's going to have to live with that Blake Snell call. And I think that the sooner that goes to bed, the better it's going to be for everybody. And it should go to bed ASAP. What's done is done. I think he's addressed it a number of times. He has said it keeps him up at night. He said he had a tough couple of months after the regular season or the World Series was over. Just heard a little comment he had with Buster Olney yesterday where he said, he's getting calls from other managers, from former teammates, from other coaches. And, he said to us in our gathering that we had with him on our Countdown to Opening Day show that he had some sleepless nights. All right, but it's done, and now we have to move on from it. There was a manager back in 2004 who did the opposite, who kept his ace in a game. And that ace ended up giving up some big hits. That manager's never managed again, and I'm talking about Grady Little when he kept Pedro Martinez in a game against the Yankees. So, it's a tough spot.
Dansby Swanson lines one to third past the diving Diaz out to left for a hit. DeMeritt around third base, coming in to score. Stopping at second is the pinch runner Justin Dean. RBI hit for Dansby Swanson. It is 5-3 Rays.
Maybe right there again, it almost looked like Yandy was kind of running in quicksand and had a little trouble getting over to his left, but it was kind of a hollow hit off the end of the bat and just snuck its way into left field for the base hit. And so you look at the runs scored today by the Atlanta Braves, and of their 3 runs scored, 2 of them have been the results of walks.
Yep.
And you take those out of the equation and be a much more comfortable lead. And now, again, let's see if Springs can get Austin Riley to hit one on the ground somewhere.
Well, Braves have scored in 3 straight innings. And now Austin Riley, big power hitter, looks at a strike on 1.
Which is nothing new. Their offense last year, we were raving about the Dodgers offense when we saw them in the World Series. They were number 1 in a lot of categories. Runs scored, home runs, runs per game. The team that was right on their heels in a lot of those categories, the Atlanta Braves.
Braves were number 2 in average, number 2 in homers, and number 2 in runs. And they were even better than the Dodgers on base percentage, which is a big one. They had more guys on base, percentage-wise, even than L.A. Here's Riley with 2 on, and the pitch lifted high and foul to the right side and down into the stands. 0-2 the count to Riley.
Yeah, so, again, as far as that, again, the Blake Snell move, what's done is done. I miss seeing Blake Snell. Blake Snell was a big part of the Rays' success here the last couple of years, and I wish him nothing but the best in San Diego. And him being moved had nothing to do with the fact that what happened in Game 6 of the World Series, either, for those conspiracy theorists out there who might think that that's why they moved him.
0-2 the count to Riley. Here's Springs throwing. Look out, up and inside, 1-2. But I think that the trouble, though, is that it's going to continue to be brought up. It's how Kevin and the Rays decide to handle it. And look, just like Kevin Cash doesn't run away from his players, his organization is not running away from Kevin Cash. If the Rays feel that Kevin Cash is the best manager in baseball, he may very well be the best manager in baseball. Certainly on the short list. Here's a ball in the dirt, 2-2. And he's not the first manager to make a controversial move in postseason history. I think Mark Topkin wrote the definitive piece on it that I've read so far, talking with Dusty Baker about how he still has to answer to 2002. And many managers have, and they still, and future managers will. It's part of that job.
We don't get to Game 6 of the World Series without Kevin's maneuverings through the Yankee series, through the Astros series, and even Think about Game 4 of the World Series.
Swing and a line drive sinking into left for another hit. Around third is Dean being waved. Here comes the throw by Yoshi to the plate. Smith with a tag, too late. And in to score is Justin Dean. It's a one-run game, 5-4 Rays, and Atlanta's got two men on at first and second.
Well, I think it's time for a rollover. If I'm managing now, if I'm Kevin Cash, I'm calling for a rollover right now. Where we at pitch-wise?
Yeah, the Rays had 2 on and 2 out when they called the rollover.
1 out. Doesn't matter how many outs. 25 is when you can roll over.
So we're at 20 pitches. You're going to roll over at 25, so work the count full here, Pablo. And then right in the at-bat.
Yeah. Yep.
We're gone.
Swanson is at second. Riley at first. Pablo Sandoval up. And he swings and misses. It's 0-1. Sandoval, for a time, stopped hitting right-handed. Right when he was with the Red Sox, he was just a left-handed hitter for the short amount of time he was there. 0-1 the count to Sandoval. 5-4 Rays. We're in the fourth inning. And a swing and a pop fly. Should be infield fly roll. Left side of the infield. Diaz and Adames coming together. And Yandy says he'll make the catch. And he does. 2 on with 2 out now. And it'll be Springs against Kipnis.
Well, be very careful here. You can walk him and not give up another run.
And roll it right on over.
We're going to use the rollover philosophy here. Why give up a hit when you can walk the guy and walk off the inning then? It's an interesting way to go about things.
Yeah, right.
Tip your cap to the crowd.
Kipnis reached on what was ruled an error, RBI, and a strikeout in 2 trips. And first pitch to him is low and outside, 1-0. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 to Kipnis, a non-rostered player, as is Sandoval. Both 32 years of age. I thought Sandoval was older, but they're both just 32. Should have some years left. Could be 2 excellent bench players for Atlanta. And for Kipnis, only a bench player because they're so stocked positionally everywhere else. There's a strike called over the inside. Kipnis, of course, can play second base, as he has for many years, but he can also play some outfield. But Ozzie Albies, albeit coming off a wrist injury, is their everyday second baseman. There's not much room positionally for the Atlanta Braves, but still need that bench. The 1-1 pitch, very high. 2 balls and a strike to Kipnis. He knows what it's like to have a 3-1 lead go away in the postseason. Cleveland in 2016 had a 3-1 lead against the Cubs. Could not get that last win.
Don't remind me.
Dave, not a fan of that. 2-1 to and Kipnis had a terrific World Series too. Great postseason. 2-1. Springs throws, swing and a miss at the elevated heat at 94. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
But then when he couldn't beat him, he joined him. He was part of the Cubs last year.
That's right.
And part of the reason why the Braves took a flyer on him here, $1 million flyer, was because, again, of the uncertainty of the designated hitter situation. So the Braves are trying to put together a team that can have some maneuverability and some pinch hitting depth.
2-2, the stretch. Springs throws, swing and a miss. He struck him out. They don't need the rollover. He just got the last 2 outs on his own. Atlanta gets 2 more runs at the end of 3 1/2. It is Rays 5, Atlanta 4. We check in again with Neil Solondz.
Thank you very much, Andy. Well, Joey Wendell's not playing here in Game 1, but Kevin Cash says he's going to play a lot, not only this spring, but throughout the year at second, short, and third. And Kevin Cash was asked what Joey Wendell means to this group.
I mean, you can't put into words the value that he's brought to our club on and off the field. I mean, Joey's one of those guys, and we've got a handful of them, but Joey has the ability to set himself apart. He's kind of like a glue guy. He brings everybody together. He's just consistent as any players you could ask. The way he goes about his work, the amount that he cares about his teammates, and then, on top of that, being a really, really productive player for us. In the postseason, our defense was outstanding. I don't think none better than him. He put on a clinic there for 3 weeks in the postseason. We wanted every ball hit to him, and I know our pitchers did too. And that's not taking anything from Brandon or Willie or G-Man or whoever was out there. Joey's just was so good. But pretty invaluable, the presence that he's had on the field and definitely in the clubhouse.
That's Kevin Cash and Joey Wendell. By the way, when Joey was asked about Kevin's comments, he gave as you would expect, the aw shucks kind of, I just appreciate being a big part of this team type situation and loves where he's at. And he also is throwing a football this spring, too, to keep his arm strength up. And we'll talk about that as we go. Right now, Rays are up 5-4. We move to the home fourth. Let's get back to the booth with Dave and Andy.
All right, Neil, thank you very much. We've got some changes that we're going to try and catch up on as this inning goes along, including new pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, and that's Carl Edwards Jr., who also spent some time with the Cubs. Tampa Bay Rays Spring Training is brought to you by Visit Tampa Bay. Step out of your dreams and into the sun. Plan your next outdoor adventure at visittampabay.com. It's also brought to you by Capital One Quicksilver Card. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back at every purchase everywhere. What's in your wallet? So Carl Edwards Jr. is the new pitcher, and they're making up a pretty good portion of a new infield as well. I saw Kipnis leave, Pablo Sandoval leave. I think that's Ball over at first base. So Bryce released him. Well, maybe it's not him, but trying to a whole new infield outside of. Can't tell if that's still Dansby Swanson at short or not. But we'll run that down as Carl Edwards Jr. is finished with his warm-ups.
He is. I got a couple of changes. Shea Langoliers is catching. Bryce Ball at first. I think that was Sean Kazmar Jr. at second. And then might be Braden Shoemake at short. C.J. Alexander is now at third, and I haven't been able to catch the outfield. So they got a bunch of changes. Ray's about to make a bunch, too, although Kevin Smith will bat.
Number 88, Blake Hunt, is on deck to
Yeah, Blake Hunt's going to hit for Meadows. First pitch to Kevin Smith. Right-hand batter who had an RBI single and a run scored his first time up. So Blake Hunt on deck, and then someone to hit for Arozarena after that. Carl Edwards Jr. fouls one, throws, and Smith fouls one straight back. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Number 53, Sean Kazmar Jr. at second base.
Well, it's that time of year where they make wholesale changes on the field. The rosters this year will be allowed to be 26 when the regular season starts. There's a strike 2 called to right-hand batting Smith, and it's 1-2. Smith, known as an offensive-type catcher, and signing back with the Rays. So the Rays for a brief time last year. There's a check swing ball in the dirt. No appeal. He didn't go, and the ball got away anyway. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Kevin Smith. Rays 5, Atlanta 4. Neither team scored in the first, and there's not a 0 on the board since. Atlanta 1 in the second. Rays got 4 in the second. Atlanta 1 in the third. Rays 1 in the third. Atlanta 2 in the fourth. The 2-2 pitch, swing and a high pop fly into right center. It's the left fielder, it's the center fielder moving over. That is Justin Dean, and to his left makes the catch, 1 out. So 1 gone. It is, Atlanta with Trey Harris in left. Trey Harris in left.
And I think they said Drew Waters is in right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So we got Harris in left, Dean in center, Drew Waters in right. The infield of Alexander, Shoemake, Kazmar Jr., and Ball, third to first, Edwards and Langoliers, the batters.
We got it. Here's a swing by Hunt and a drive hit to deep left center field. To his right is Dean, and he tracks this one down. He looked a little unsettled under it, fighting some sunshine, but ran the thing down and 2 men away. Oh, and now look who's coming out on deck for the Rays. It's Wander Franco.
And now look who's coming up.
Look who's coming up.
A roll of the dice by Kevin Cash.
He's hitting for Arozarena, so not like it's any big shoes to fill or anything. The young phenom and back-to-back years being the top prospect in the game. Wander Franco batting left-handed, and he swings right through the first one.
A reminder,
Just
too,
wanna
that
know.
you can download the MLB app to get in-game video highlights, live play-by-play, breaking news, player updates, stat leaderboards, and more for your Rays and the rest of the league.
1 ball, no strikes to Franco, who takes a little low.
It's pretty good company and guys who, it's one of those things where congrats, you're the back-to-back top prospect in Major League Baseball, but that's also an award maybe that you don't want. You think that for being number one year, you should be in the big leagues by the next. But
he's a teenager.
With COVID and everything else.
And the 2-0 is fouled back onto the screen. It should be. They have it at 2-1. It should be 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Bryce Harper did it. Joe Mauer did it. And Andrew Jones did it, formerly of the Braves. That's pretty good company. All guys who went on and had pretty good careers.
I'd say so. Some still having it. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Wander Franco. Carl Edwards Jr., thin right-hander, comes home. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Breaking ball in the dirt. And Wander is fanned. A 1-2-3 inning for Carl Edwards Jr. The Rays are gone in order for the first time today. Done with 4. And it is Rays 5, Atlanta 4 on the Rays Radio Network. We're done with 4 in the first spring training game of the 2021 season, and the Rays have a 5-4 lead over Atlanta. Wholesale changes, numerous changes, in fact. Rene Pinto now catching, Tristan Gray at first, Vidal Brujan at second, Wander Franco at short, Kevin Padlo at third, Ryan Bolt is in left, and Dave will fill you in with the rest. New pitcher also. We go to the 5th. Once again, here is Dave Wells.
All right, Andy, thank you. In the first pitch taken away outside, Moises Gomez is in right field, Garrett Whitley in center, and Ryan Bolt in left, and then Padlo, Franco, Brujan, and Gray, the infield third to first. As the right-hander, next pitch taken outside, and it's 2 balls, no strikes, getting them to try to throw some strikes. Rays wearing their Columbia blue tops, their usual Sunday tops, if you will, but these are their spring training tops while down in Port Charlotte. Next pitch, and this one is a bat grounded foul. It just exploded the bat. And the old Chuck and Duck right there. I mean, saw the bat start, the part of the barrel of the bat start heading back toward the mound, and Stetson Alley ducked for cover. Stetson Alley, one of those guys that they've been talking about so far during the spring, as to the fact that he can really, really bring it. The problem, he doesn't know where he's bringing it to sometimes. And it's, as we've said, the Rays have already walked, about 4 or 5 guys today and hit a batter. It's about throwing some strikes, and you would imagine that there's some early spring butterflies, and everybody's, especially some of the guys who were not on the team a year ago, trying to maybe impress a little bit by throwing maybe a little harder than they should. But Allie, an imposing figure on the mound, and we've already seen 99 a couple of times on that in-park radar. The 2-1, way outside at 99. I'm not even sure it gets to 100.
Yeah.
Maybe it does, but 3 balls, 1 strike. 5-4 Rays here in the top of the 5th inning. Now the right hitter ready to pitch, and that one missed badly high and outside. It's a walk to start this 5th inning. Well, if there's one thing that we know can draw, and Kevin, one of the things that they've been bragging about, and rightly so, is his consistency. And it's a big reason why the Rays have gone from 90 wins to 96 wins to winning 2 out of every 3 games last year and getting to the World Series. It's because of Kevin Cash's consistency, not only in the moves he makes as the runner goes, the pitch, a breaking ball is a strike, to throw to second is not in time, and it's a stolen base for Almonte. And I think the thing, Kevin, or that's not Almonte at second, I should say, but it's a stolen base. And I think the thing, Andy, that they talk about and they rave about is, again, the fact that his consistency allows these guys to not always be looking over their shoulder. But if you want to draw the ire of Kevin Cash during a regular season, walk guys. That does seem to ruffle his feathers a little bit. Shane Langeliers takes a breaking ball for a strike, and the count now quickly 0-2.
And what's really interesting about it, too, we know, Dave, a decade, well, probably now more than a decade ago, people didn't want to come to the Rays. They didn't have that great reputation. Now, all you hear is pitchers want to come to the Rays because of the hard work put in and the success that this organization is building for pitchers. And many times where they didn't have success before, Rays able to unlock a lot of that potential for these pitchers. And now it seems like so many pitchers around the league flock to want to join the Rays when there's an opportunity in the offseason.
There's a swing and a miss right there by Langeliers after some fastballs at 99 that he was having trouble getting over the plate. Stetson Alley then decided to go breaking ball right there, and a steady diet got him out. Now here's Trey Harris trying to hold up on a breaking ball, and he could not. It's strike 1. Tying run at second base for the Braves. 1 on, 1 out here in the 5th. Harris, a right-handed hitter. Rays infield back everywhere defensively and playing the pull ever so slightly. We'll hear you an ID here in the next couple of moments. We'll try to get to it. Here's the 0-1 pitch, lifted foul and out of play down the right field line. This one going all the way back to the wall, and the fan can't get it. But he played. No, he didn't even play it on the hop. Don't go over that railing. No. COVID police will get you. So, had a chance, couple of chances, didn't come up with it. E-Fan. Now the 0-2 to Harris. Check swinging a ball down to the dirt. Did he go? They'll ask it first, and they say he did not. And so the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rays will play the Minnesota Twins tomorrow here in Charlotte County. And we will have the game for you on RaysBaseball.com and the MLB app. Neil Solondz will be broadcasting tomorrow's game. Neil Solo Solondz, I believe, all by himself.
What's the solo in Solondz?
Yes, he does. And so Neil will be calling the play-by-play tomorrow. Then we're back on the air. Back on the air next Saturday. On the radio, here's the 1-2 pitch, lifted foul, back and out of play, and the count stays at 1-2 strikes. Again, for this 2021 spring campaign, Andy and I will be broadcasting every Saturday and Sunday game on the radio. Next Saturday, we'll be here again against these same Braves. And then on Sunday, we'll be in Fort Myers to take on the Twins. The 1-2 in the dirt, and it gets away from Pinto, and on the wild pitch, advancing to third base, is the potential tying run. It looks like, I think that's Drew Waters now at third base.
Talking with Ron Washington, who remains in this game, such a positive force and such a tremendous instructor. Of course, former manager also of the Texas Rangers when they got to back-to-back World Series. A guy that has to answer questions why they didn't put Game 6 away in 2011. That's just part of the nature of managing.
2-2 pitch. Here's a swing and a high fly ball left field. Bolt going back at the track and in front of the wall makes the catch. Tagging at third is Waters. He will come in and score. And as he crosses home plate, we are tied at 5 here in the 5th. So sacrifice fly to left field for Trey Harris, and the walk becomes the third different walk to reach today and score. The other run of the 2 runs was a hit by pitch. So essentially, there have been, of the 5 runs that they've scored, 4 have reached on somewhat free passes. You want to dissect the game a little too much maybe on February 28th right there. Here's Bryce Ball, and he takes the first pitch for a strike, 0-1.
Well, he finally came in with something off speed, and he did get Harris out in front, but, I mean, he still hit it well, and Harris took some big swings in that plate appearance.
Turned that one over for a strike, and the count now quickly 0-2 to Ball, who had a bullet for a base hit his first time up that knocked in a run, and then the last time got rung up by the home plate umpire, Jeff Nelson. 5-5-0 so far for the Braves. 5 runs, 6 hits, 1 error to this point for the Rays. Now the 0-2 pitch, check swing, and he went around, and he just challenged him right there with 98 and blew him away, and that will retire the side. But a leadoff walk comes around to score, so we go to the bottom half of inning number 5 here in Port Charlotte, and we're tied at 5 on the Rays Baseball Network.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a
right-handed throwing Patrick Weigel, who comes set from the first base side of the rubber. Now the right-hander holds near the chest, and now the leg kick on the first pitch home is taken outside for ball 1. Brujan also listed among the top prospects for the Tampa Bay Rays, and you look at the Rays, again, team that made it to the World Series, has what, according to a lot of them, the MLB pipeline, and the ESPN folks still have one of the top minor league organizations going in the game, and now you start to sit there and you say, all right, and this is where, this is where it's going to be. Are you going to go and win a World Series, or are you going to not be able to get it done? And this is where some of those guys that are on that prospect list are not only going to have to come up to the big leagues and help you out, as there's a one-hopper knocked down by the shortstop, Shoemake, gets up, spins and throws to first, but not in time to get the speedy Brujan. Little looper back up toward the middle, and Shoemake, I thought, was going to try and pick it and maybe even come up with it before it hit the dirt, but he couldn't do so. And when he bobbled it momentarily, that's enough for Brujan to beat it out. But this is where, you're going to have to either take those prospects and hope they come to the big league level, they're going to help the big league team win, or you take those prospects and you move them to other teams and you find talent at the big league level that can help you win.
One of the first phrases I remember hearing when Andrew Friedman was GM was talent is currency.
Go to first, and that one's a little wide, but a good job by the first baseman, Bryce Ball, to go get it and keep it from heading into the outfield. Well, the other statement I heard last year, which I really, really like, parades are cooler than prospects.
Yeah.
And I think we got a taste of a couple of parades here in the Tampa Bay area this past few months, and we came close to give them a third one, and hopefully sooner rather than later we will, as there's a swing and a foul down the left field line and out of play, as Padlo got around to that one rather quickly. But, all right, you're going to have to use that. And, I think back to, like, the Indians, who still have not won a World Series in a long, long time. When they had that stretch where you can argue from about 1995 to 2000, they might have had the best team going in the game and end up with no World Series trophies, that they made some suspect moves when they moved some of their prospects. And they got good players, but they didn't get really good players to put them over the top. It's here Brujan running on the pitch, and he stumbles going into second base and gets tagged out. And hopefully he's all right. He's a little late in getting up. He went into a slide and got stuck and then stumbled around second base and got tagged out trying to steal second base. And Langeliers shows off a pretty good right arm right there, and there's one out.
Well, there was one report I read where Langeliers has what would be the best pop time in the game if he were in the big leagues. Number one is JT Realmuto. In other words, when he gets the pitch to gets it to second base, Langeliers would be just ahead of Realmuto, and we saw that right there.
Padlo waits on the right-hander's offering here. Breaking ball. That one caught the inside corner, and the count now 1-2.
Tampa Bay Race Spring Training brought to you by Visit Tampa Bay. Step out of your dreams and into the sun. Plan your next outdoor adventure at visitampabay.com.
5-5 here in the bottom half of the fifth inning. Again, it's only a 7-inning game today. As Weigel ready, here's the leg kick of the pitch to Padlo. Breaking ball outside. Before the next pitch, why don't we take 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the Rays Baseball Network. Again with Andy Fried, I am Dave Wills, and we are inside Charlotte Sports Park in Charlotte County, Florida. There's a swing and a drive down the right field line. Doesn't have enough. Waters to the wall, and it's off the base of the wall. Padlo around first on his way to second, and he's going to pull in there with a stand-up double. Gave it a decent ride to the opposite field, and, well, in this ballpark where it's close to 340, 345 down each line, it takes more than a decent ride to get out of the ballpark when you're going oppo, but to the base of the wall right there by Padlo, and he gets himself into scoring position.
Well, we've seen Padlo for the last few spring trainings, and a name that we've heard for many, many years, going back to the James Shields, Will Myers trade, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
So here's Moises Gomez with a runner at second base, and the Rays trying to regain the lead here.
The Jake McGee, Corey Dickerson trade.
Same thing, different names.
From the Rockies.
As there's a pitch in the dirt, picked nicely by Langeliers, and the count 1 ball, no strikes.
And the guy in that deal that might end up being the best, Herman Marquez, who was with the Rays, ended up in Colorado.
Jake finding a new residence right now anyway with the San Francisco Giants. Scott Kazmir moving over to the Giants as well.
And, of course, Evan there and Fernando Perez in their organization, not as a player anymore. They've got a little Rays touch to them.
Gabe Kapler is their manager.
Yeah.
Now the 1-0 pitch, taken outside, and the count 2 balls, no strikes to Gomez. Kevin used to be a straight-up guy when it came to making these changes. We're going to have to ask him,
what happened?
Well, what are you doing? What's the new thought process here? So I think they got Ryan Bolt then batting next.
Yeah, they do.
Which would be straight up, but I don't understand why are some straight up and some are not. Padlo taking his lead at second base. Second baseman Sean Kazmar Jr. trying to keep him close. Weigel checks on him. Now the 2-0. Swinging a foul, and Gomez almost swung right out of his spikes right there and spun himself to the ground, and the count now 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, I remember seeing Gomez last spring training, known for power, struck out a lot, but like so many other players around the country, stymied in his development last year with no minor league season. And they've reshuffled the minor leagues this year to the point where my head is still spinning, and I still can't figure out who's in what league and division anymore.
Well, they got rid of the names, didn't they?
Yeah, for now. What I heard.
That's a shame.
It sure is.
2-1 pitch outside. I mean, I can kind of understand why Iowa shouldn't be in the Pacific Coast League, but
right.
I mean,
that was weird.
But like right now, I mean, they're talking about like this. This is the Southwest Division of the Grapefruit League.
Mm-hmm.
Really? And I think all things considered, I'm kind of digging the fact that there isn't as much travel involved, cutting down on a lot of it. There's a big swing and a miss by Gomez there, and again down to an E he goes, and the count goes full of 3-2. But Kevin Cash was asked today before the game about the fact that they do have to play the Red Sox as many times as they do, and maybe it doesn't really. The Red Sox are still kind of on the way back and still on the mend with a few of their big boys, maybe not all the way back yet. But when they get good, I don't know how much fun that'll be to play them as that many times.
Nope.
3-2 the count. Runner leads at second on the pitch, and Gomez takes a strike 3 call. The breaking ball and crisscrossed the plate at the knees, and Gomez is out on strikes for the second out here in the 5th inning. I like the fact that the Braves came over from Disney. Gives us a team with a different look, one that you're not going to see usually all that much during the regular season. Don't see the Twins more than just a couple of times during the regular season. Maybe you start playing the Pirates a little more. Swap them for the Red Sox.
Well, I mean, we've had the whole AL East up and down the west coast of Florida now for years, which is kind of odd.
First pitch. The only time the Rays go over the Sunshine Skyway for a game this spring will be at the end of spring training when they go to play the Tigers. That'll be it. Other than that, the Rays are going to be all down here in the southwest portion of the state. And Kevin Cash said that, again, from a travel standpoint, it's great. He goes, but he did like the opportunity to get home for a few days, and he thought the players liked it too. The 1-0 pitch is taken outside, 2 balls, no strikes. It gave them an opportunity maybe to, again, get their summer places set up with a little less stress with the season still a few weeks away, but not going to have that opportunity this year. I think the good thing, though, looking at the Rays' schedule, is the fact that they've got an off day this year on the 8th. I think last year we saw them, they had their first off day like March 10th, and we started a week earlier.
That's right.
They looked gassed by the time we got to that off day. As there's a swing and a miss by Ryan Bolt to the count 2 balls, 1 strike. Well, the Braves back-to-back-to-back National League East Division champs, and some people are kind of saying, all right, well, it's the Mets division to win, and look out for the Phillies, and look out for, the Nationals are coming back, and overlooking the Braves a little bit. The 2-1 pitch, and that one's inside. 3 balls, 1 strike. And you look at the team that made it to Game 6 of the World Series, beat the Yankees 8 out of 10 times during the regular season, beat the Yankees in a best-of-5 in the postseason, and yet the pundits are saying, well, the Yankees are 10 games better than the Rays. Not sure I'm buying that, but the Yankees are a very, very talented team. There's no getting around it. But so are the Rays. As here's the 3-1 pitch, and it's outside, ball 4. And so Bolt works the walk, and there's 2 on with 2 outs, and Christian Gray coming up here. And, you look at the situation for the Rays, that's nothing new. But, again, I think the inner expectations of this team are very high. I think you said last year you go into 2020 after taking the Astros to a Game 5. I think anything less than getting beyond the first round of the playoffs is going to be looked at as maybe somewhat of a disappointment.
Yeah.
You wanted to see progression. And to see progression from a 96-win team and a team that did as well as it did in the playoffs, I mean, that was going to be hard. But now, progression from a team that loses in Game 6 of the World Series is either getting it to a 7th game or winning the whole thing.
They were 10 innings away, you could say, from winning the World Series.
So I think the attitude in camp has been pretty much what you would expect. A bunch of the guys saying, hey, we got a taste of it, but we didn't win it. We want to win it. I had to be very careful there. I didn't want Andy to get mad at me. His first pitch on its way from Patrick Weigel is taken a little bit low, 1 ball, no strike. I didn't want to say came up short. They just didn't win it.
Right.
The Dodgers won it.
I still think that if Margot is safe at home on the steal of home in Game 5, I think the Rays win the World Series.
Well,
because I think the Dodgers were starting to really look over their shoulders and here we go.
The 1-0 pitch, and that was what we talked about at the beginning of this broadcast. That one's outside 2-0. It's the Rays' lack of success last year toward the end of the season of getting guys in. They had not one but 2 chances to do it in that game and didn't get it done. And then that's when Manuel Margot decided, I'm going to try and see if I can get myself in, and he did.
Oh, it was so close. I think you and I have talked about this. I felt worse about losing in 08 because the Rays were better than the Phillies. Agreed. I can't sit here and say the Rays were better than the Dodgers. I think the better team probably won the World Series. It's amazing that the Dodgers had not won a World Series. I've been trying to explain this to my son all offseason, Dave, because he hates that they lost a World Series. The Dodgers, like you've been calling them a machine, and yet they hadn't won a World Series in 32 years.
It's hard.
It's
hard
only one team can win.
It's hard to win the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And it might even been harder last year when you think about
the
fact that you had to go through an extra round of playoffs. As here's the pitch, a little bit low. I mean, think about this. Rays in a regular, postseason had enough wins to win a World Series.
They sure did.
Right?
They sure did.
If I'm not mistaken, if my math is right. There's a
sure
pitch
did.
down to the dirt in the count. 3-0 now to Tristan Gray, the left-handed hitter. Rays picked him up in a trade with the Pirates a few years ago. Infield playing the pull ever so slightly. Again, it's a 5-5 game here in the bottom of the 5th, and Patrick Weigel might be running out of pitches, too. The pitch. Here's a swing and a little looper into right center field, giving chase Justin Dean. Fighting the sun, and he can't get it. It falls and rolls to the wall. It might score a couple. Pablo scores. Here comes Bolt around third. He will score. Racing for third is Tristan Gray, and he'll get there with a Sun-Da triple probably, and the Rays have taken a 7-5 lead. Well, the Sun wreaked havoc on Justin Dean. He looked like he got to where the baseball was, but then couldn't pick it out of that bright ball up there in the sky, and he stumbled. The ball rolled to the wall, and with 2 outs, runners going on contact, they were able to score rather easily, and the Rays have regained the lead. And now here's Garrett Whitley, and he takes the first pitch a little bit low for ball 1. Now you think back to that situation, what was it, the 4th inning, Rays were, Kershaw did not look especially sharp yet. You knew it was going to be only kind of a matter of time, or so you thought. And Rays were able to get a couple of guys on right away. It was second and third, nobody out, right?
Yeah. Oh,
painful.
It is.
It hurts. I got something sour in my throat. The game was on the other day on MLB Network, and I just can't stay and watch it. I'm sorry. 2-0 pitch. Here's a swing and a foul back to the screen. The count 2-1. So, but again, we haven't had a chance to congratulate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on winning the Super Bowl. I mean, like I said, when it happened, I can't imagine. I mean, I know what it was like for a 56-year-old guy living in Tampa, what it was like to see your team win the Stanley Cup, your baseball team go to the World Series, and your football team win the Super Bowl. But I can't even imagine what a kid who's in that like 8 to 12 range or 14 range. I mean, all your that don't happen, folks. That all your teams made it to the championship game.
Don't get used to it.
Oh my goodness. Gray leads at third base. Good lead. And the pitch taken high, and it's ball 4. And so now Garrett Whitley works the walk, and that's probably going to roll over the inning. It looks like it will. And so despite the fact that Whitley worked the walk, he will not be able to take first base. He is going to have to go get his glove, and the Rays will, for the second time in this game, have to not be able to get their full 3 outs. We go to the 6th. 7-5 Rays on the Rays Baseball Network.
Tuesday. Visit Tampa Bay.
So we go to the top of the 6th inning, and the Rays have a 7-5 lead. Joey Crable, Seminole native and a former high school teammate, as we have found out, of Brent Phillips, is now coming on the pitch, and he's had some time in the big leagues, but not a whole lot, but coming over now pitching for his hometown team as the right-hander comes on and begins his warm-up tosses. The Rays, again, with a 7-5 lead. They've had a couple of innings cut short because of the rollover situation, and as we get ready for this top of the 6th inning, a reminder that Tampa Bay Rays spring training is brought to you by Visit Tampa Bay. Step out of your dreams and into the sun. Plan your next outdoor adventure at visittampabay.com. So as we get ready for this 6th inning, 7 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for the Rays, 5 runs, 5 hits, no errors to this point for Atlanta. To take you through the play-by-play again for this frame, here's Andy.
Well, good, Dave. Thank you very much. Crable, the local product, in fact, has another little tie to the area. Not only did he go to Seminole, but he ended up going to the same high school that Casey Kochman, the former Ray, went to. And why is that noteworthy? Because he was signed by the Angels by Tom Kochman, Casey's dad, longtime scout in the big leagues. Here's a first pitch outside to Dean, Justin Dean, and it's 0-1, or it's 1-0. Crable's got that bushy beard going on. All right, so I got Dean, and then Braden Shoemake should bat after this. And there's a strike over the outside. And then being the Crable being the high school teammate of Brad Phillips, who will never have to buy a drink in this town ever again. And the 1-1 delivery is a breaking ball. Strike 2 called. Good off speed there. 1-2 the count. And if everything remains the same, C.J. Alexander would hit third in the inning. 7-5 Rays, top of the 6th of a 7-inning game. There's also the chance, from what we understand, and a fastball high 2-2, that with these 7-inning games, because it's all about guys getting their quote-unquote work in, that even if the Rays have a lead, they might still bat if an Atlanta pitcher really needs to get some work. And they agree with the Rays to let him get in there, so it's a little wacky. Here's a breaking ball, strike 3 call. Justin Dean is fanned by Joey Crable, one away.
So even if you don't have to come off the deck, you still might have to bat.
Somehow you might have to.
You still could bat. Even if you had the lead going into the bottom. But do we have to broadcast those innings then? Because the
I
game's
don't know.
over, you know? What are the spring broadcast rules?
We need to start coming up with our own rules, I think. Here is Braden Shoemake, who went out to play shortstop on the 4th, hitting for the first time. Swanson went 1 for 2 with a single RBI and a walk. Yeah, the first pitch to Shoemake is taken low and outside, a left-handed batter. 1 out, nobody on, 7-5 Rays, 6th inning. Baseball all around the country today. In the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League out in Arizona. In fact, I might try to find a game to listen to on the way home. And on 1-0, sliced in the air, foul off, third and out of play, 1-1. We have been starved for baseball these last few months, and now we can get loaded up on it. In fact, every Sunday we'll have a game now?
Well, but I just said that the other day where this begins my Sundays of having to set an alarm, but then I saw we have an off day.
Oh, I did, that's right.
First week.
Yeah. There's a swing and a miss, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. That is weird.
So I can't believe it. I think it's Easter, though, so we have family over.
You're going to be stuck with family? Is that what you said quietly?
Liz's family. Not my family, Liz's family.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Shoemake. Here's Crable throwing. Swing and a miss. He went off speed again, and down he goes. Back-to-back Ks for Joey Crable against Atlanta, and with 2 out and the bases empty, that'll leave it for C.J. Alexander. Alexander has been playing third base, and we see Logan Brown will come out in Sandoval's spot after this.
No, I was told back in 1993, marry me, marry my family.
It's true.
You know?
And the first pitch, low and outside, and that's a strike over the outside 0-1. We got married and we moved away from our families. 0-1, the count to Alexander. The stretch, and Crable throws, swing and a miss, and it is 0-2. 0-2 the count here to Alexander. Austin Riley, who struck out his first time, singled twice, scored 1, and knocked 1 in. Atlanta scored a run in every inning since the second. And Rays looking to put together their first quiet inning of the day against the Atlanta hitters. 0-2. The stretch, and Crable pitches. Fastball up and inside, straighten him up at 94. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. One and 2 to Alexander, a left-hand hitting third baseman. We had 2 out of the bases empty. Crable to the stretch. Now to the plate. Swinging a bounding ball by first and foul. On down the right field line. Eric Young, the first base coach over there. Eric Young Sr. One ball, 2 strikes.
So now if he catches a ball, he can flip it into the crowd, and that could be called Souvenir City, right?
I suppose so. 1 and 2. And the pitch, check swing. I don't think he... No, he did go, says the third base umpire. And down goes Alexander. And Crable, coming home to Tampa Bay, has himself quite a Grapefruit League debut as a member of the team he grew up loving. 1, 2, 3, the Braves retired. End of 5.5. It's Rays 7, Atlanta 5. We check in again with Neil Solondz.
Thank you very much, Andy. If you missed Countdown to Opening Day earlier today, I chatted with Stan Borowski, and one of the things I spoke with him about is who may help on the non-roster side for the Rays, especially since John Curtis and Aaron Slegers and so many others had an impact last year.
Well, you're looking at guys like Jeffrey Springs, Cody Reed is healthy again. I think he's going to impact us. Dietrich Enns, Brian Moran, Ryan Sheriff, I think is going to play a bigger role this year. Chris Mazza, Shane McClanahan, I think is going to play a much bigger role. Fleming is probably going to break with us, which would be tremendous. And then you have guys like Brent Honeywell, who is finally healthy again, and we're really excited to get him back into the mix. Shane Boz, another young prospect, 21 years old, who we are super, super excited about. So you never know. Andrew Kittredge is back, and Kitt's had some success with us in the past, and really super excited to get him back. So there's a lot of names that are going to impact us, and they say it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes an entire pitching staff. It's just not the 40-man roster guys that we break with that are going to impact this club. I mean, it happens every year. If we don't have 20, 25 guys that are major league ready, then we're going to struggle. But we have every bit of that, and really looking forward to some of those younger guys getting their shot.
That's Stan Borowski touching on some of the roster and non-roster guys who could help the Rays during the course of this year. We just saw youngster Joey Crable come up with a 1-2-3 inning, striking out the side in the sixth. These are to be 7-inning games, and our first exhibition game of the year has the Rays in front over the Braves, 7-5 here in Port Charlotte. Let's get back to the booth. Here's Dave and Andy.
All right, Neil, thank you very much. As we get ready for this bottom half of the sixth inning, I just got to finish this text here. I was just joking. I really wasn't making fun of your family. I love your family. I will pick up dinner on the way home. Sorry for trying to be funny. Okay, anyway. Let's get all the latest Rays news and content delivered directly to your inbox. When you sign up to be a Rays Insider, you'll be the first to see information and future deals directly from the Rays. Visit RaysBaseball.com/newsletter today. Raise up. And I will ask Andy one more time what we should get Sarah for her birthday.
I already texted the vice president of gift requests back in my house, but I don't know if she got it or not.
So I just took care of two things right there.
I thought you ruled the roost at your house.
I do, but just, for public knowledge.
Yes. All right, well, bottom of the sixth inning, Renee Pinto's going to start it. Blake Hunt and Wander Franco after that. And 7-5 Rays lead. So Brian Snitker talking to home plate umpire Jeff Nelson a moment ago, and I wonder if they're talking about innings and rollovers and different things. But we understand there was a conference call between all the managers in this quote-unquote Southwest Division, and to try to get on the same page because they're all playing the same teams so much. Red Sox, Twins, Braves,
Such
Rays.
an easy sponsorship.
It
deal,
is,
too.
isn't
I mean,
it? Seems like it. Tucker Davidson, the new pitcher for Atlanta, and Pinto, right-hand batter, slices one inside the line into the right field corner. And a long run giving chase Drew Waters. Pinto is around first and pulling into second base. He's got a first pitch double to start the race sixth.
And fighting that pitch off. Your timing probably not obviously where you want it to be, but tell you what, for the most part, I've been pretty impressed with the way that the Rays have been going up there and taking some really healthy swings. And Pinto right there showing how strong he is, able to fight it off and shoot it down the right field line. Rays have had a few extra base hits in the game. He had the home runs by Austin Meadows today and the home run by Mike Brasso. You had doubles now by Padlo, and Manuel Margot had a double, and now there's a triple by Gray, and now the double here by Pinto. So a lot of extra base hits.
And Blake Hunt lines one right to short, caught by Shoemake. Throw back to second, and back just in time, Pinto. Blake Hunt, first pitch swinging, belted one to short. There's one out. And back to second base goes Pinto, and here's Wander Franco again. And Wander spending the last day of his teenage years in a big league baseball game. He turns 20 tomorrow. So he digs in, born in the Dominican. Rays have 10 hits. He struck out his first time.
I think also birthday wishes to Randy Dixon, one of the Rays fans who made the trek down here from St. Petersburg today, and got a little note that they wanted us to sing. Too early in the season to sing.
I'm not on my singing voice on yet. Only during the commercials.
Happy birthday to Randy. Happy birthday to you.
That's pretty good.
Here you go.
Franco's batting right-handed as a switch hitter. Runner at second, Pinto, 7-5 Rays, sixth inning. And the pitch is swung on foul. Now, what we always have heard about Franco, even going back to 2018, his first year in the organization, was how he had tremendous what they call bat-to-ball skills. Does not strike out much. And it's not like he's a slap hitter. He can drive the baseball. He can kind of do everything, average and power, and hit from both sides. And I don't remember, maybe it's been since, B.J. Upton, since such a young player looks like he is knocking the door to the big leagues in the Rays system. Here's a pitch up and away. Rays always tend to wait a little longer.
He had Dumb and Young
He
a
was
little
pretty
bit
young.
too after that, but not Blake Snell as a pitcher, but not too many. I can't remember the last time, like you said, a positional guy was in this spot. Evan Longoria, but he was already, had his college years. And
right. Same with David Price. Here's a swing and a foul back. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
There was we've heard some of the stories about Franco as a guy that, again, swung and missed at one pitch during a month.
Right.
While he was playing in A-ball. And, he already had the swing and a miss strikeout today, so hopefully he's got that out of the equation. But, I think the biggest thing that the Rays are trying to do is not put an enormous amount of pressure on him to say, you need to live up to this number one prospect label.
The 2-2 pitch, up and outside, 3-2.
We've already had a couple of guys. Bill Evers, who longtime coach in the Rays organization and then moved on to the Twins. He's not one for hyperbole. And when he told me that he had the best, bat-to-ball skills that he's ever seen, and this was a guy that spent a lot of time with Derek Jeter in the minors.
Many others.
That was pretty impressive.
Yep. Here it comes on 3-2, swinging a ground ball off the handle to short. Picked up by a charging Shoemaker, and his throw to first is in time to retire Wander, who is 0 for 2. Through 6, we go to the 7th of a 7-inning game.
Wait. I know you're so used to only getting us 2 outs.
Oh, that's only 2 outs. 2 times today the Rays did only 2 outs, and then they called it the inning. So
you were trying to get ahead of it. I understand.
I really was. All right, so runner at third is Pinto. He advanced with 2 outs, and up steps Vidal Brujan. So the inning will continue. 7-5 Rays looking for another. Brujan, a switch hitter like Wander, and a fastball up and inside, 1-0. He had an infield single, was caught stealing, went awkwardly into second base. His only time up. 1-0, one of the fastest guys in the system, if not in the minors. There's a check swing. Got the bat, a foul tip. Should be 1 ball and 1 strike. Rays with a couple of home runs today, Austin Meadows and Mike Brasso. Atlanta without a home run, but they've made the most on guys getting on base with walks, 1 on a hit by pitch, and then stringing together singles after that. 2-0. Swinging a slow bouncer up the first base line. Fair or foul, right at the bag. Ruled a foul ball. And it is 2-2 now to Brujan. It keeps saying the Rays are loaded with outfielders. Well, they're loaded in the system with middle infielders as well. Brujan and Franco knocking on the door, but look at the big league team. Between Wendell and Adames, between Brasso and Lau. Keep hearing about Taylor Walls coming up, middle infielder in the system. And the Rays are loaded there, too. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the pitch is slap foul straight back into the right, and it remains 2-2.
Well, I think, again, part of the thought process is that more often than not, the shortstop is, you can make an argument, the most athletic player on a team. And if you can play shortstop, it's a decent, probably, and he's a good enough athlete, which he probably is because he's playing shortstop, that he could probably slide into another position rather well.
Brujan swings and misses, and down he goes, and now that is the 3rd out. At the end of 6, it's Rays 7, Atlanta 5 on the Rays Radio Network. Swinging a long drive. Yaxel Rios is on now for the Rays as we try to close this thing out. We don't know if there would be a bottom of the seventh or not. Again, these quirky rules, it's a 7-inning game, but I think maybe what'll give it away is if the Braves get a pitcher warming in the bullpen, it might tell us that would be a likely candidate to come in the bottom of the seventh, even if the Rays do have the lead, as they do 7-5 for Atlanta as we go to this ninth inning. Logan Brown is going to pinch hit for Bryce Ball, even though that's really not correct with regard to they switched Bryce Ball in 2 spots in this lineup during the game. He started hitting ninth, and they moved him in the lineup, which, of course, you can't do. But things are fast and loose in the Grapefruit League these days. Kazmar Jr. will be on deck, and then Drew Waters. We go to the 7th, final inning. And for the play-by-play, here's Dave Wells.
All right, Andy, thank you very much. And Yaxel Rios with his first pitch, and he slings it in there for a strike at 97. And the count 0-1. Infield playing him to pull ever so slightly, but no shift as Rios from the first base side of the rubber, ready to go on the pitch. There's a swing and a slicer in the left field, and that's going to settle in front of Ryan Bolt for a base hit. So the Braves get the tying run to the plate with nobody out here in the 7th. So here is Kazmar Jr. batting in the spot that Jason Kipnis was in. Again, not sure. Right now, nobody is. Well, there is some stretching out there.
Yeah.
But not sure if he's going to just get some work in the bullpen or if they want to get him into a game. As there's a swing and a drive. Left field, the wind grab and hold to the track, to the wall, and we're tied. Sean Kazmar Jr. tees off on the first pitch he sees from Yaxel Rios, and his 2-run shot lands in the berm area out there in left field, and it's a 7-7 game.
And now there will be a bottom of the 7th.
Rays are going to have to try and come off the deck. By the way, with it being a 7-7 game, that means the Rays have scored 6 runs. And with that, we'd like to remind you that tomorrow you get 50% off your regular menu price pizzas at PapaJohns.com or when you use the Papa John's mobile app with promo code RAYS6. Papa John's, proud sponsor of your Tampa Bay Rays. As here's Drew Waters, and he swings through that pitch at 100. So the 100 does work on that board. And the count 0-1. Next pitch in the dirt, and the count evening up at 1 ball, 1 strike. Rios, one of those guys that, again, has excelled in popping the radar gun and popping the mitt during the spring, and one of those things where now it's just a matter of being able to corral it all and be able to throw a few more strikes. And maybe, again, the thing is that when you don't really know where it's going when you do make a mistake out over the plate when you're throwing that hard. Well, you're already providing a lot of the MPH, and if you guess right as a hitter and you make pretty good contact, there's a pretty good chance it's going to go a long way, as it did for Kazmar Jr. there. Rios has spent time in the big leagues. As here's a swing round to right side, bobbled and booted by Brujan, picks it up, throws the first, not in time. And Drew Waters is able to reach on an error by the Rays' second baseman. Second error of the game for the Rays. But Rios, out of Puerto Rico, has spent time in the big leagues with Philadelphia for a little bit in 17 and 18. Then split time between the Phils and the Pirates in 19. And then last year, 3 games while with Pittsburgh. And now trying to find a home with the Rays. 7-7 here in the 7th. Rays have never trailed in this game 1-0 at the beginning of the bottom of the second inning, and then scored 4 times to take a lead. They've never trailed since, but go ahead, run on base, and the first pitch in the dirt, knocked down and kept at home plate by Pinto for ball 1. Rios, 27 years old. They list him at about 6'3", 220 pounds. Selected by the Phillies in the 12th round of the 2011 draft. Runner goes. The pitch is called a ball. The throw to second, and it's in time, and they gun down. Waters trying to steal second. Caught stealing goes 2-4, and there's the first out of the 7th inning.
Braves running wild today. 3 for 3 until that moment. And a fine catch release with a lot on the throw and a not a bad tag at all by Brujan at second. He's got to feel good after his error.
So first down to the inning recorded as Langoliers now waits on the 1-0 pitch. Here it is from Rios. Here's one skied toward right center. This one's got a little carry, but back on it and getting to it is Gomez, and he makes the catch at the edge of the warning track. And there's 2 gone. The wind, not quite as brisk as it was at the beginning of the game, but it's definitely helping anything headed out toward left. It's not going to give anything to right field to push. As here's Trey Harris. Harris knocked in a run back in the 5th inning with a sacrifice fly. Rays have out-hit the Braves 10-7, but have committed the game's 2 errors. There's a big swing and a miss by Trey Harris for strike 1. So for the Rays in the bottom of the 7th, I believe it'll be Padlo, Gomez, and Bolt. They are the scheduled hitters, or at least that's what we have on our roster. Here's a swing and a line drive right side by the dive of Brujan and into right field for a base hit. So Trey Harris keeps the inning alive for the Atlanta Braves. And now here's Bryce Ball. Bryce Ball 1 for 3 in the game today. He had a single back his first time up, a bullet that knocked in the first run, and has struck out a couple of times since. Power against power right here. Short lead at first for Harris. Here's a swing and a looping line drive toward left. There, though, is Bolt. He'll make the catch, and that will retire the side. But the Braves score a couple of times, and in doing so, we're going to the bottom half of the 7th inning. We're tied at 7 on the Rays Baseball Network.
It's either going to be a tie or a win if the Rays score 1. Here's the thing. We don't even know if the Rays say we're to get a run. They might still play 3 outs. Who knows? Kind of playing fast and loose with the rules these days with all the strange restrictions. We do know that Thomas Burrows is now pitching for Atlanta, and the Rays are scheduled to have Kevin Padlo, Moises Gomez, and Ryan Bolt due up against the Atlanta left-hander. So the 2-run homer by Sean Kazmar Jr. ties it up in the top of the inning. And now the Rays need one to get a victory. Atlanta's first home run. Rays have had a pair of home runs. Austin Meadows and Mike Brasso each went deep today. And now Atlanta goes to their final pitcher of the day, Thomas Burrows. As we go to the home 7th inning, we'll see if the Rays can get a walk-off that we wouldn't even know if it is a walk-off until they signal that it was a walk-off.
And we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You know, I miss the guy that always laughs at everything I say. It's good.
I can't help it. It's funny to me. It's just funny.
So here is Kevin Padlow.
Because I know your meanings.
As here's a pitch taken outside for ball one.
Today's attendance is 1,127, 1127.
So 1,127 in attendance today.
A sellout.
It is a sellout. You say that every night or day here during the spring. As there's a pitch taken outside, it's so the Rays right now in a 7-7 ball game. Jeff Nelson, again, this is the other thing too. 87 degrees, sunny. Got the equipment back on. This is your first game. He's done a pretty good job behind home plate. There's a swing and a pop-up on the infield. Behind second base, shortstop Shoemaker is there to make the catch, and that is out number one. Seen Scott Kersey, the Rays umpire lounge concierge, if you will, and he's been bringing some cold towels and some cold drinks out there for Jeff to get through this day. They're wearing their black shirts with their gray umpire pants, and it's a little toasty out there today. Here's the first pitch here on its way to Moises Gomez, and he takes ball one. 1 ball, no strikes.
It's always been a shadowless field here during these day games, so there's no break. You notice Nelson goes back when he meets up with Scott Kersey, too. He kind of stands in the shadow where there only is shadow back near the backstop.
Now the 1-0 pitch. Look out. Missed inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Gomez struck out looking at a pretty good breaking ball his last time up. They're taking some big swings and couldn't get a hold of him a couple of times. So the lefty ready. Here's the pitch on its way from Burrows. A swing and a slicer foul. Again, our next radio broadcast is Saturday from right here. We'll be here at the ballpark here in Charlotte County when the Rays take on these Braves again. Neil will be broadcasting tomorrow, and if you want to listen to that, and you should, you can do so on the MLB app or at RaysBaseball.com. That game tomorrow begins at 1 o'clock. Tyler Glasnow will start. 2-1 pitch missed inside with that offering right there. They count 3 balls, 1 strike. And I don't know, you start counting back days and figuring things out. Is it equal to, April 1st when the Rays open up in Miami for the first time in, over a decade that the Rays are going to open up on the road?
Yeah.
Now the lefty ready to pitch. Inside corner called a strike. There aren't too many teams that can honestly say they go south for the season opener, but the Rays are.
It's just the first time the Rays are ever going south for the opener.
3-2 the count, 1 out, nobody aboard. In a 7-7 game here in the 7th. Now Burrows ready to pitch. Breaking ball, tried to backdoor him, and he didn't get it. Missed outside for ball 4, so the Rays put the winning run aboard, free of charge with 1 out here in the 7th inning.
The Rays open the year in Miami. They have that first Sunday off, as you were mentioning, and then they'll go to Boston. They'll play the Red Sox Monday, April the 5th, Tuesday the 6th, Wednesday the 7th. And then the Rays will have the home opener, much-awaited home opener, with fans in the stands. Limited number, but fans anyway, against the Yankees. A 3-game series, and then 4 against Texas. Takes us 2 weeks into the season. Can't wait.
So here's Ryan Bolt with 1 on and 1 out. And lefty against lefty in the first pitch. Runs inside for ball 1. Bolt walked, and he scored one of the 2 runs ahead of the Sun triple by Christian Gray. Outfield playing very deep all the way around, and the infield back looking at turn 2, if you will. Gomez a decent lead at first as Burrows ready with a leg kick in the pitch. Breaking ball, that one skimmed the inside corner at 78 miles an hour and a count, 1 ball, 1 strike. And unfortunately, or fortunately, all tickets for the spring games have been sold out for the entire spring. So, really, if you're looking to see the Rays, you're going to have to do so during the regular season. Go to RaysBaseball.com for more information about ticket memberships. As here's a pitch swung on and missed. The count now 1-2. Because of the pandemic and the fact that the seating arrangement has to be kind of moved around, and there's no fixed seat like you would during a season ticket situation, but there are different memberships which give you an opportunity to have better seats and better seating locations. The 1-2 pitch, breaking ball just outside, 2-2. So again, RaysBaseball.com or 888-FAN-RAYS for more information about that.
The only games that we've seen with fans in the stands was in the World Series, and it was, of course, different, but it does add that level of atmosphere that you listen back. The weird part of listening last year is the fake crowd noise. It's kind of strange.
2-2 pitch. Swinging a ground ball towards second. Fielded by Kazmar Jr. Goes to second out. Turn to first, not in time. And so they take care of Gomez on the front end. They get the out. It goes 6-4. And Bolt keeps the Rays' hopes alive, and he stands at first base again as the winning run as Tristan Gray comes up here to see if he can keep this game going. The other day, I don't know, I can't say my dauber was down or anything, but I just wanted to kind of get, feeling a little better. So I watched the end of Game 4, and I saw, like, a bunch of the fan reactions. I went on YouTube. I spent an hour, like his Andy Fried, just going on YouTube.
That's right.
Watching all the different reactions from fans in the stands, fans at home. It was great. As the first pitch here is low and away for ball 1. And, you couldn't really tell there was only 12,000 people at that game.
No.
Well done. And I know we said it during the World Series, and we should say it again, that I thought the folks in Arlington, led by John Blake and company, I thought they did a tremendous job in putting that all together.
Absolutely.
The 1-0 pitch is taken low, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. I saw our friend Kate Munson today on Facebook announced her retirement from baseball.
Really?
She got married, and now she's retiring.
She's too young to retire.
Moving on to different endeavors.
Well, good for her. I did not know that.
Forgot her married name right now, but good luck, Kate, and all your future endeavors. We'll miss seeing you at the ballpark in Arlington, which is now called Globe Life Field, I think. Or is it Park?
I lost track. I lost track when they named that thing. I lost track right around the time they started changing the names to the ballparks in Texas, Miami. I think Milwaukee is different this year, if I'm not mistaken. Seattle was different last year.
Clearwater's different. Here's the pitch, taken outside, and the count now 3 balls, 1 strike. So still Tropicana Field. We're looking forward to getting back in there. So it's some of the guys that are inhabiting that place right now. We send Andy in there to clear them out.
The wrestlers?
Yeah.
They listen.
You take care of them. They don't want none of that. They don't want that. Here's a pitch over the outside corner, and that's called a strike. And the count goes full to 3-2. So now with 2 outs, runner at first, 3-2. We've gone about as far as we can go right now, folks. And so Ryan Bolt's going to get a head start over there at first base on this 3-2 pitch to Tristan Gray. 7-7 our score. The lefty ready, the pitch on his way, runner goes, a swing, high fly, deep right field, back at it, Waters, Rays win! Rays win! Rays win! Tristan Gray with a 2-run walk-off homer into the bullpen and right, and the Rays come away with a 9-7 win in their Grapefruit League opener. What a way to end the game. I was all ready to say Rays tie. But Tristan Gray, who had a 2-run triple in the 5th, as a 2-run homer here in the 7th to walk it off. And the Rays come away with the victory in their spring training lid lifter. Andy Fried Well, we were able to see a few pitchers, see a lot of guys go up there and not get cheated. And I think we're going to wrap it up. I think after we're high fives and handshakes, Sal Fasano and Matt Quatrero out talking things over. Both guys sharing some thoughts. But, you know, again, hey, it's good to be back in the booth. Great to see you, even though it's through plexiglass. But great to be back here and look forward to being with you again on Saturday and Rays take on these Braves again.
Indeed. We had a little bit of everything today. Dave, we will see you next weekend, and we'll be listening to Rays baseball throughout the week with Neil on MLB.com. The Rays win it today 9-7, as we really had a wild and very entertaining game on this Crayford League lid lifter. Again, tomorrow it'll be the Rays and the Twins from here in Port Charlotte. Neil with the broadcast on MLB.com. Dave and I will be back on Saturday, and we will speak with you then. The executive producer of Tampa Bay Rays Baseball is Larry McCabe. The game produced by Chris Miller.
It's a celebration. Celebrate good times, come on. Let's celebrate. There's a party going on right here. A dedication to last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We gon' celebrate and party with you. Come on now. Let's all celebrate and have a good time, yeah, yeah. Celebration. We gon' celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone around the world, come on. It's a celebration. It's a celebration. Celebrate good times, come on. Let's celebrate. Come on now. Celebrate good times, come on. Let's celebrate. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright, baby. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. It's a celebration. Celebrate good times. Come on and celebrate tonight.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and everybody who chatted and all that fun stuff. Go watch some Left Turns. See you guys. Have a good day.